Howdy. Oh, dang, I forgot to do the intro. Sorry. This is why we need Michael.
Oh, I miss the intro. It makes me cry every time.
All right, let's see. Michael, this is why you need to be here. I don't know where this stuff is anymore. Let's see. All right, here we go. We're playing the intro. All right. Well, you guys didn't see that first part where we came on before the intro. This is why we need a Michael. But Michael is under the weather today, so he's going to be out for this show. But we have an awesome special guest, Adrian. You want to say hi to everybody, Adrian?
Hi, guys. Thanks for coming tonight. Hopefully,
that's awesome.
We'll have some fun tonight.
For sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we had a little bit of audio trouble before, so I didn't get to talk to you. Are you good for the whole 3 hours, or do you have a timeline?
I am.
Okay, perfect.
I've got extra water. I might get to take a pee break.
There we go.
All right.
I already had dinner.
That's awesome. Okay, well, good to know. I wasn't sure. I just wanted to make sure because sometimes our guests forget that we do a 3-hour one tonight. So I just want to make sure you're okay with it. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody coming out and putting in the chat where you guys are coming in from. As always, put 3 capital Q's in front of your questions, and we will love to get to them in order that they come in and try to answer them. And other than that, let's get on with Adrian. So I appreciate
you want to
you
announce
coming.
something first? We've got a giveaway too today.
Oh, I forgot. We're doing so many things. We have a tasty air fryer to give away tonight. So we're going to be giving away a tasty. So while I look up my plugins so that I can do that because I didn't have it ready. So
you're not all set up.
I didn't get anything. We just came from a live stream or a live chat in SBG Gang straight over to here, and we had about 8 minutes to get everything set up. So,
and I was busy trying to put birds back in their cages. So I was chasing them around the house because I didn't want to go back in.
Yeah, but so here in just a moment, we'll give you a hashtag, and we'll give you the instructions in just a second. But we are going to be giving $150 tasty air fryer away tonight. So we are good to go there. And with no further ado, Adrian, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody and kind of give them your little bit of your intro for you?
Well, first of all, the tasty air fryer, I use it every single day. I love it. And I've used it for I've used it since last April, and it barely smokes. The other ones, you would use it and they would start filling your house with smoke. You're like, this isn't healthy. And you have a hard time cleaning it. This thing's so easy to clean. I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys all know. Tasty is the best.
That's awesome.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's
I didn't
They
get a
don't deliver
review
to
for, like,
Australia
5 months
yet.
because I wanted to make sure it didn't like become like the rest of them where they're almost disposable. They almost just get so smoky so quick, especially if you're cooking meat with all that fat. And it splashes up onto the burner. And then some of the burners, they like put into a place where you cannot clean it.
Right.
And I had one, it was like stainless steel. But then it turned out the interior was actually like aluminum and who knows what else. And so you think you're getting this non-toxic machine and you really aren't really much better off. But
yeah,
anyway, my name is Adrian. If you haven't heard of me before, I call myself like the Biggest Loser girl because I've done a lot of things to try to get a hold of my health, my body, all the things. And one of those things was being on season 3 of The Biggest Loser, which I told you guys about last time I was here, but I don't know if you guys saw it. Other things I've tried, running and restricting, a lot of that. I mean, it started out with 5Ks and it moved to half marathons. I've even done a full marathon before. Lots of restricting, lots of meal prepping. And then when that got to a point, I started going back up. Then I tried the gastric bypass. Do I ever have nightmares to tell you about that? And I'd love to go tonight, if you guys want, into what I recently found out, because we try to find all these answers. And when we go to standard doctors, they give horrible answers, horrible, that make people more sick. And you go back because you're like, I'm still sick. I don't understand. I'm definitely not doing something wrong. And they have no answers for you. But I finally have some answers that I think you guys are going to love. And then I try the gastric bypass. That ends up making me more sick. I am now questioning if potentially that is the root of my chronic inflammatory response syndrome. I'm questioning that. We have some testing we're going to do to see if it could be other things, which we could go into the CIRS thing. But since the surgery, that triggered anemia. I have to get infusions. My gut's a mess. I'm having a hard time absorbing anything because we're bypassing 120 centimeters of intestine. We also cut out a whole bunch of stomach that's off to the side that produces a lot of stomach acid that you use to break your food down. So like digesting food is no longer a thing. I mean, it's just awful. And I've been looking into reversal. We can go more into the gastric bypass, but since the gastric bypass, the hypoglycemia has been so bad, debilitating. It's hard to leave the home. You just never know when you're going to drop. You never know. And so I've been cutting more and more and more and more. And my illnesses got worse until I got to the point where my arms and legs were going numb. I couldn't eat. I would cry because I was ready to give up eating. And I know other people who are out there where you spend, hey, Ellie, you spend so much time in bed and sick and keeled over from food reactions that you're just like, I think I need a feeding tube for real. I couldn't drive because like a few minutes into driving, I would get lethargy, and you turn on the air, you turn the music up, you open the windows in the middle of the winter. Nothing could break this lethargy. And later on, I found out it was so much inflammation that I wasn't getting air to my brain. So much. And eventually it was either commit Adrian to a psych facility because she's losing it, or let's try the carnivore diet. And I combined the carnivore diet with moving out of a home that had water damage. And between the two, I became a human being again, and so that was great. But the thing is Judy Cho always said that like carnivore diet isn't going to heal your CIRS. So I always knew in my head, this is one of the tools in my CIRS toolbox, but I'm going to need more tools. And that CIRS part has been such a struggle. But I also have struggled with my weight. And there's been times where I'm like, I'm on top of the world. And that's when I would always talk, is because I felt good. And I'm like, I know that if I just work this hard enough, this is just amazing. But after trying Lion Diet and then getting even more inflamed, I realized I needed more tools. And so that's where we are today. And some of you are going to hate me. And I just want you to bring on the questions and come from a place of love. And also, I want to tell you before we tell you all the things, that after a gastric bypass, this is why I love carnivore so much, because it is a tool you can have in your toolbox that doesn't hurt you. If anything, you're going back to nature. You're doing everything as natural as possible. It doesn't cost you money because you need to eat food. Nobody's here to scam you, where sometimes with the mold illness, you go, like almost all the mold doctors are concierge. Like, who has 20 grand or 30 grand for a year's worth of care? But carnivore, like, I think the root of carnivore is a loving place, a primal place. And so I really wanted it to heal all my things, but I got to a point where I was like, I need more. So that's where we are today. So we can keep talking about what the more is, or we could start with the gastric bypass and what I've learned. Or if you have something else.
Well, let's see. I think we did that. Let's go to the more first. But before we do it, I have to get this. I got to share screen here, get the giveaway going so that people are entering the giveaway. So here we go. So in order to be eligible for this tasty giveaway, all you have to do is you have to, whatever channel you're on, you have to follow that channel. You have to hit the thumbs up and you have to comment hashtag tasty, just as you see here, all caps letters. And as soon as you start putting that in, see the entry level here going up. We already have 2 people in there, 3 people. It's going up. As that goes up, you guys will be, we'll do a random drawing to everybody that comments. Now, we have 3 streams going here, Lindy's, mine, and Adrian's. So if you, for every channel that you go to, that you subscribe to, that you give a thumbs up to, and that you comment this in, you get an extra entry. So if you do it on all 3, you get 3 entries. So that's the rules. And at the end of this live stream, we will be doing a drawing for $150 tasty air fryer giveaway. So
yay. Nice.
You're going to have to tell me what this add-on is, because sure. I'd love to do a giveaway too.
Absolutely. They're fun. And it's shoot, SBG's been nice enough to give us an air fryer every week this month. And in SBG, we are giving away 30 air fryers this month?
30. It's all for World Carnival Month. Yeah, just
sure.
to celebrate.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's awesome. So it's shout out to SBG. Those guys over there are awesome. Well, us guys, I guess.
I see a couple of carnival. There's some tasty air fryer winners in here already. So
that's awesome.
Share your photos later.
That's awesome. All right, but I definitely want to, and yes, I know I heard a little bit about your Instagrams and stuff, and I'm like, I don't care, because we're not a dogmatic cult. We're not vegans. I'm just gonna put that out there. We're all just trying to get healthy. So we love any information, right? Because unlike our counterparts that pretend that the science is settled, we actually would like to find what the real answers are, and actually the real scientific method, which is to test everything. Doesn't mean we won't have hard questions on things, but the information and the people going out of their way to try to find an answer, which we are all put in this position because the system is not helping us. The system is not built to help us. The system is a sick care system. It is not a health care system, and we are not here to be healthy. We're here to be managed sick people. And so we're all on a journey to get free from this, right? And so I love to hear it all, but I would definitely love to hear what you found out, because I'm not going to lie, I definitely do have some terrible opinions of GLP-1s right now. So I'd love to hear what you found out. So.
Okay, so first, before I go into this, I think there's more tools we got to talk about. One is I went through a 12-step program, and it started 11 years ago. So I've been working on my addiction for almost 12 years. Okay, so we have that. I've been working on this. When I came into carnivore, I had an idea that if I just restricted enough, I could get a hold of this addiction. So the addiction thing is a really important piece that I totally forgot about when I've been helping people recently, is remembering that whether you have a tool to help you with addiction or not, you have to work on healthy eating habits and working towards foods that really promote you and your best self. So for me, even if we can work on some of the insulin resistant, some of the other things, I still want to avoid a lot of foods that trigger me to have nonstop cravings. And even if you add some of these medication tools, you still have to work on that, I think, because studies are showing that down the line, that comes back. And if you stay low dose, which I'm going to talk about, I don't think it works for sugar, for carbs, for flours and stuff like that. But okay, so we have the addiction piece. I've been working on that for a long time. But when I went Lion Diet, I found myself restricted down. And there was like a 3-week period where I was like, oh, I would say Lion Diet is the closest thing that I've experienced to a GLP-1 because meat causes so much GLP-1 that you have this satiation, you have quiet in your brain. People who go Lion will talk about the quiet in their brain, but it seems like after a period of time, your body like overcomes it and it comes back. And I've seen that in other people too. It wasn't just me. It was like you got a Zen for a few weeks, but then your body is something's still off underneath and it would come back. And so that tool only worked for a minute. And then the noise is back, which you don't even know what the noise is until it's quiet. You don't even, it's like being sick and then getting well. And you're like, I didn't even know that I didn't feel great because you were sick the whole time. And so you don't know what it even feels like to feel good. And I feel the same way about reducing food noise. So I tried the Lion Diet. After 35 days, I gained 14 pounds of inflammation. So it didn't, and some people would say, you just got to go harder. And I would say that was my body saying, please stop. Like the first thing I did was eat a whole bunch of salmon and it felt so good to eat salmon. And so I just think it wasn't enough nutrition and it was too much restriction and it just wasn't the ticket for me. Now, you just said about dogma. Just because it's not the ticket for me doesn't mean I'm going to deny that healed someone else. If it healed you, please do what is best for you. But it just didn't work for me. It really, and I wanted it to so bad. And so after that, it was like, honestly, kind of carnivore heartbreak. It was like, no, I really believe in my whole soul that this is what I need to do. And if I just work it hard enough, this is the ticket. I just need to do harder. I just need to try harder. And after really trying really, really hard, tracking all my food, I did video journals every day. My editor said, you are a great documenter. Like you could be really good at this stuff. I didn't realize like that is so much work, especially when you start clipping it together. And then when you take the fact that some platforms are this direction and some platforms are this direction. So now you either have to have 2 cameras or you got to be double filming things. And anyway, so I really documented that I was taking this so seriously. And when it just didn't work, because even after the 35 days, I was like, okay, this is the hump where people give up. So don't be that person, Adrian, because we're going to make this work. And this is just part of healing. Healing isn't linear. And so I kept going. I don't remember how much longer I went. I think I got pretty close to the 60 days before I threw the towel in and said, mm-mm. So after that, I started questioning my restrictive mindset and I decided I'm going to let myself have decaf. I'm going to let myself have some dairy and I'm going to stop being so restrictive with myself because it's not that I'm lacking restriction. It's that something else is going on. Then I went to my CIRS doctor. He ran my thyroid and my hormones. So this is my first step of finally adding some medicine. Now, before this, I had been on low dose naltrexone. So that is a medicine. Let's say naltrexone is I don't know what the standard dose is, 100 milligrams. I take, 7, which actually is a high dose for low dose. I think low dose is supposed to be under 5, but I'm a pretty inflamed person. Okay. So other than that, I also had some binders. CIRS people, you're not a good detoxer. So you take these binders, it helps kick the toxins out. Okay. So I have 2 medicines that I think are fine. One of them is itty bitty and the other one is relatively low risk, but pulling the toxins out is better than the risk, which the risk can be it actually can I only learned this later. It can take some of your thyroid, and it can take some of your hormones. And now I'm struggling with this too. So maybe the binder is a contributor here to not getting better. So I pulled back on the binder. I added T3 thyroid medication because my labs came back that my TSH was high, my T3 free was in the tank, and my T3 reverse was high, and my T4 was high. So I'm creating T4, but I'm turning it into reverse instead of T3 free. So this is why I guess I had tried the desiccated, and it made me feel like crud. And I think it's because I'm a bad converter. So adding more T4, because the natural one comes with T2, T3, T4, it wasn't a good fit for me. So we just added T3. And some of the fatigue, because I was having chronic fatigue, some of the fatigue came off, but I still was gaining weight, even adding thyroid medicine. I missed the piece of, I stopped tracking and I walked 12 miles a day, but instead of doing it 5 to 6 days a week, I only did it 1 to 2 days a week. And my weightlifting went to like 1 day a week. And I just enjoyed the summer with my kids. So stop the extreme exercise, stop the sardine fasting, stop the water fasting, stop the fat fasting, just eat intuitively, which I know you're going to say, well, that's why you gained weight, but I don't think it was extreme. I really don't. But my weight gain, it was like 30 pounds in the matter of weeks. And so this was like everything that I've been doing that took, I mean, to lose 30 pounds for me takes a long time. It is a grueling, awful fight to lose every pound. But then if you just take a breath for a second, the weight just comes back on. And this is like giving me PTSD a little bit, because the same thing happened after Biggest Loser. The same thing happened after gastric bypass. The same thing happened after running and restricting, that if I'm not perfect, I gain weight. And to me, that's like something is wrong, because metabolically healthy people do not have to be absolutely perfect every single day of their life, or they gain 30 pounds. And 30 pounds, like, who's going to stop it from continuing to go up? I mean, that was just what I had gained. So then we added bioidentical progesterone. We tested my hormones, and my progesterone was in the tank. So this is when the weight gain stopped, was adding the progesterone. And my brain kind of came back online. My cycles went from 21 days to 28 days. And I just started feeling better, but still no weight loss. Like that 30 pounds, which to me seems like could be inflammation. Like maybe I have a lymphatic problem. To be able to gain 30 pounds so quick, like something is off. So it didn't come off despite me doing the things. But I don't know about you guys. I believe in sometimes you just need to take rest. And that doesn't mean binge eating. It doesn't mean eating carbs. I was still carnivore. I don't think I was eating excessive amounts of dairy. Dairy definitely wasn't eating Dairy Queen. Ice cream. I wasn't eating flour. I was not eating sugar, because I have this post-gastric bypass reactive hypoglycemia. I can't have those things. So I wasn't doing that. I forgot where I was going. So I figure I just take a rest. Sometimes we just need a rest. And I feel like maybe my next carnivore thing that I need to do will appear to me. Maybe the right macro will come up. Maybe the right coach will come up. Let's just sit back, give it time, keep eating meat, absorb everything around you, and just kind of wait. Have you guys ever had that period where maybe you hit a stall and you're like, I just got to wait for the right thing to come around, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go through it now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I actually, in SBG, we end up feeding through that. Like when that happens, we prime through those things, so stay carnivore, stay strict as you can, but you actually need, we need to reprime, because that
boost your
brings
metabolism.
up boost your metabolism, brings up your metabolism, and it gets you through a stall. And so I personally am okay with gaining a little weight and losing a little weight, because at the overall, it's a net, we call it composition changes, right? It's a net decrease. Sometimes your body wants a little bit more weight. It wants to heal up. It wants to go through the season. and then you go through a leaning phase. But ultimately, throughout this whole, it's been 2 years now journey, it's even with all the ups and downs, and I feel you, because I can gain 50 pounds in 2 weeks, like no joke.
Yeah.
I can gain 50 pounds in 2 weeks, and I just don't care. That's literally why I have my scales in the garbage can, because I don't care anymore, because I'd go off of how I feel, that I'm getting stronger, that I have more energy, that I sleep better. And then the composition changes, and then you see it in the clothes get smaller. But so I feel you there for sure.
So people would say, well, maybe it's because you do hard things all the time. Shoot, you had just said something and it made me think of something that was really good.
The metabolism
You
going
threw
up
the
from
scale
training?
away and the weight gain. Okay, so some people will say, well, gosh, you're just so obsessive with the weight loss. Here's the thing, guys. I'm not obsessive with the weight loss. I'm obsessive with the weight gain, because every time it's like being thrown off a ship, and you can like wade water for a really long time, but eventually you start coming towards, you start getting tired, and you got to take a breath. And every time I take a breath, I gain weight. And this has happened my entire life. So it's not even necessarily about the weight loss as much as it is like, I'm tired of the constant fight against the weight gain. And so that's when I saw a podcast. I love Dr. Amy Horniman, because she talks a lot about thyroid. She talks a lot about hormones, and I've seen people who work with her who feel better than they ever have. So I follow her podcast. Do you guys follow her?
I haven't heard of her.
I haven't heard of her. No.
Yeah.
What? Oh, she's a hottie.
I'll have to check it out.
Anyway, she's a very successful thyroid doctor. And she came out with this podcast called The Miracle of GLP-1. And I was like, but I'm open-minded. Like, I'm calling bullshit shoes on this, right? Like, but I'll listen because I love Amy and I trust her. I've been watching, and maybe you guys have these people in your life as well who have been on a GLP-1, and they're not necessarily eating meat, and they're not necessarily exercising. And it just doesn't necessarily, they'll say they've been working on, and I'm not calling my family out. This isn't a family thing, okay? Just in case my family's watching. I am not calling you out, because I have more to come later on about how the different ways people use this. But you'll see people say, I'm now healed from my relationship with food. And I just wonder, but are you? I just wonder. And I think some people are, because there is a lot of healing that's happening. But some people, I just wonder. Anyway, so we all have also seen people be sick. I have a friend who's using her doctor, going through the doctor, doing what the doctor tells her to do, dosing up the way her doctor tells her to, and ended up in the ER twice. And so she's to the point where she wants to get off of it because she can't eat any food and she's in the ER. So right. We've all seen this. So when I saw Amy, I was like, Dr. Horniman, I was like, I don't know, but I'll push play. So I listened to it, and she talked about how it's not actually a drug. It is a peptide, and that we are created out of peptides. We have peptides all over our body. We have collagen. A lot of people add I don't add collagen. I heard it makes me fat, but lots of people add collagen to their coffee, and insulin is a peptide, and that it's just a string of amino acids, and that it's very natural to our body. And so it works with our body to help heal it. She talked about the differences in dosing and why people may be having side effects and how to avoid them. She talked about brain healing, inflammation healing, gut healing, metabolism healing, muscle healing. And I was like, wait, what? I thought everybody was like losing all their muscle. And the peptide itself actually helps people regenerate muscle and build muscle. And so you'll see like these gym bros have been taking it for like a long time. But the reason people are losing muscle is because they're not eating, because they're overdosed. So after hers, I was like, I think I need to balance this opinion out, because she was really positive. Like, she was in the tank for the GLP-1. And I still wanted to, it sounded so great, like a total miracle. I started talking to some of my friends who work in addiction and work with people with addiction. And they said, yeah, I heard that too. And it sounds all great, but they're not buying it. So then I went to a podcast. It was Dr. Tina Moore, Dr. Mark Hyman, and Callie Means. You guys know who he is?
Yeah, he's asked me for an interview, but I haven't. Yeah.
What?
I think he's asked me for an interview. No. He's wants me on his channel, but I haven't responded yet. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing, Lindy. What are you doing? Get your butt over there and give him my name. Except that he hates GLP-1s. So I thought, I trust Callie, and I think this will be a good balanced debate here. And Tina kind of wiped the floor with him because he was going into big pharma, which I'm told that's why I love Callie. It's so hard because his sister has a boy name and he's a boy and has a girl name. Does anybody else on this one? Sorry. But anyway, Callie, I get where he's coming from, which is that there's been no drug that's ever cured like anything. I also am in the way that big pharma is doing it in a way that I think is harming people and is not sustainable long-term. I don't know. I don't know if it's sustainable to just tell a person, just take this drug and continue your life. And then that's the cure, but you have to take it for the rest of your life because people are losing their muscle. They're not able to eat, and the effects of it, certain effects of it, wear off over time. And I wonder about receptor burnout. I wonder about cycling. Like people say you should cycle your hormones. People say you should maybe cycle your thyroid. And I think maybe peptides need to be cycled. And so I just wonder, I don't see in their formulation how this equates to long-term health. I don't know about you guys, but so anyway, Tina talked about going low dose, low and slow, not following standard, that you can avoid these side effects. She talks about the side effects people had. A lot of them were because a lot of people who take these are very ill. And I'm not going to say today that I'm super, super ill. I'm not going to put myself in that category, but I am very metabolically messed up in some ways. And so I would take risk of, this gut paralysis thing. She said it's because a lot of people who are coming on it already have nerve damage to their vagus nerve. And I have vagus nerve damage. So you need to take this seriously. Even if you think you're healthy, you're probably coming onto this because something is damaged and any person could have a side effect. So I take the low and slow very serious. But she talks about the gut paralysis is usually when either the doctor is dosing them up way too high for their body, or they've chosen to double dose themselves, which is what?
Right.
Overall, when you look at, but here's the thing. So she talks about avoiding side effects, but she talks about the seriousness of the side effects. And in the end, she said one thing where I was like, okay, I will do the experiment. She said to Callie, what about my mold patients? My chronically inflamed people cannot lose weight and keep it off. And she said, I work with people, they do all the things. And they cannot keep their weight off and they are continually gaining weight. And that's when I was like, well, I'm chronically inflamed. And no matter what I seem to do, nothing's working. Here's another one though. With the mold thing, they tell you move to a home that has no mold. So we have moved 5 times in 2 years in an attempt to avoid a moldy building. This is horrible for my marriage. This is horrible for my children. This is horrible for our bank account. And at one point, at many points, my husband has said, you need to find a pill. Like, we can't live like this. You have to find a pill or a supplement or something that's going to make you more resilient because we cannot hide and you cannot live in a bubble. And so when she said that this could actually heal some of those things that are dysfunctional inside me, I was like, well, I need to save my marriage. I need to save my body. I need to give it a try. So I wasn't going to tell my husband and I wasn't going to tell anybody, but like 4 hours later, I was like, Tyler, I got to tell you something. I ordered something and you're going to think I'm nuts. And he just sat there totally calm because I am, he's like, okay, bring it on. And I was like, I just ordered essentially Ozempic. And he was like, that's weird. Don't tell anybody. I won't tell anybody. But as the week went on, you know, when you get carnivore and you're like, this feels so good. I can't believe how good this feels. How does everybody not know about this? So he had to hear it every single day as I was feeling better and better and better. And he jumped on the bandwagon like 2 weeks later, a week later, 2 weeks later, because he has insulin resistance. Oh, that brings me to one more thing. I look at him when you walk into a school, at least in America. I don't know how it is where you live, Lindy. The kids' faces are pies. The kids are inflamed. What I was when I was in school, I was the biggest kid. I would be considered skinny these days. These kids are suffering from metabolic issues. Are we going to have them lion dieting and walking 12 miles a day in the sun for the rest of their life? Like, there has to be something, somewhere. Something. I don't know. I'm not saying it's GLP, but we have to find something to help heal people that's not so extreme and like something that people could adhere to. So I think we need to fix the food, and I think we need to fix the metabolic issues. And I think for some people, fixing the metabolic issues is going to take more than just fixing the food because the damage is done. So as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking maybe this could be a tool for people around me. My husband has insulin resistance. You can tell he's got black circles under his eye. He has skin tags. He has sleep apnea and high blood pressure. And he has low energy. He can fall asleep at 2:00 every single day. And so although he has no food noise whatsoever, he needs help with his insulin resistance. And he needs help to cut the sugar. Because some people really struggle cutting the sugar. And for me, I have the surgery. So I have a tool to help me cut the sugar. If I eat sugar, I'm going to feel like death. I'm going to be on the floor, shaking and sweating. But for other people, they need a tool to help them get off. So that's another reason I tried it. Then I wasn't going to tell a soul because we have 2 communities here now. And I love that you said no dogma. And I'm sorry, I'm still talking. It's been
no, I'm listening.
I'm excited for your really tough questions that are coming. But okay, so when you follow GLP groups and influencers, I actually understand why. They're very anti-diet. They're very not going to do carnivore. And why? Because they were told that if they just restricted enough, they would lose their weight. And many of them didn't. Many of them did all their foods. Many of them bought all their programs. Many of them did Weight Watchers. Many of them did Biggest Loser. Many of them did all these things. And there's literal trauma and distrust in restriction. And so their hope, and I mean, also a lot of people come from different places where they still believe in the medical system. They still believe in that the government wants the best for them. And so that's a lot of GLP. I'm not going to say that's all the GLP-1 people, but when you see influencers, that's where a lot of them are coming from, a place of trust still, and a place from how do we heal this, and also a place of hurt with all of the diet culture that has failed us. And then you have the carnivore group who's like, we want to be as natural as possible. We don't want to touch anything except food and exercise and sun and circadian rhythm. And we really want to work with what we have here that's primal to heal people and fix people. And so now I'm kind of stuck in the middle. And so I wasn't sure if I could ever come out about this because neither one of you are going to like me because I kind of think they both go really well together.
Right.
But at one point it was like, this is actually working. At first, you go through this trauma of like, well, I've lost weight before. How is this any different? But it is different. Like I'm actually seeing magnified results for less work. So I don't have to stress my body out with a sardine fast. I don't have to stress my body out with long walks. I don't have to stress my body out with consistently going after this constantly, the up, the down, because they say you have to eat at a deficit, but then you have to eat at a surplus, but then you have to eat at a deficit, but you have to eat at a surplus. And then maybe you need to change your macros. Maybe you need to eat more fat. Maybe you need to eat low fat. Maybe you need to play around with this or that. And it's just kind of stressful to play with all those things. And this just kind of actually works with your body to put I didn't know there's a miscommunication between the gut, the hormones, and your brain. And these peptides antagonize those receptors in a way that gets the communication back online. And I had no idea that was off. And for me, food wasn't healing that disconnection. And they're saying that these can heal that disconnect. I think there's a lot of unknowns, and we could definitely go into that. But so that is where I'm coming from. I feel like there was more I was going to say, but I lost it because I've been talking for 36 minutes. Okay, so shoot all the hard questions at me.
All right.
So when I realized it worked, then I realized, because I had a best friend that did with me, was I didn't tell her for like 2 weeks. And then eventually I was like, I got to tell you something, because I'm just a person who can't do things alone. And I also don't like shame. And when you're like, I can't tell anybody, you're kind of giving yourself shame. And so I had to tell her, and she really didn't take it super well at first, except she loves me. So no matter what, she loves me. But then I started sending her some research that I had seen. Like, I didn't just like say, sign me up. Like I watched like lots and lots of doctors before doing it. And you have to dig, because just like carnivore, this is a very censored topic, very censored. And so it's very difficult to find good information, I think. It's very difficult to find people who are sharing their stories. They completely censor it and they ban it on a lot of platforms. You're not allowed to talk about it. Facebook groups are shut down constantly who talk about peptides. And so she kept telling me, especially after we went to a conference and we saw so many people still struggling, she said, you got to tell people. You got to tell people. And then, I don't know, one day I just felt like, love me or hate me, I'm going to tell you about this tool I added to my toolbox. And it's actually been pretty amazing. People have been looking into it, considering it, opening their minds to maybe a peptide could help them. And then when you open your mind to that, you realize that there's thousands of peptides. I don't know if it's thousands, but I think it's thousands. And this is a whole separate category that can regenerate your brain. Did you know we don't have to just accept the atrophy in our body? These peptides can regenerate your body. And once you realize that GLP is like the tip of the iceberg, like there's a whole bunch of healing peptides, and they're keeping them from us. And the FDA is actually banning them, of course, because if you can heal yourself with something that works with your body, that's in your body, that no big pharma, we can go into the patent business, but big pharma isn't necessarily loving these because they can't really patent them unless they alter them, because you can't patent something that's in your body. Like, you didn't create it. It's in our body. And so they don't necessarily want you to know that something that could work with your body exists, and instead take these drugs that is totally foreign to your body and come with tons and tons of side effects. So that's my spiel. Bring it on.
All right. So let's see. My first question is, you said that it's working, but what exactly is working? You know, obviously you look great. You're losing weight. I see that. But what is it doing? How are you losing the weight? What part of this is working? How is it? What does that mean to you when you say it's working? Is it weight loss? Is it more composition change? Do you know what percentage of weight of like lean body mass versus fat that you've lost on those type of things? Those are the things that I'm really wondering about.
I need to get a DEXA like this month. I would love to, because I don't know exactly what I like DEXA. So I need to get a DEXA. In my town, they don't have that. So what do I consider working? The very first thing that happened was for 2 weeks, I peed around the clock. Peed. So I would not consider the 15 pounds I lost in 2 weeks to be fat or muscle. It was pee. It was
water. Yeah.
I mean, because I was literally up all night peeing, and it just kept coming off and coming off. And I'm chronically inflamed. And then the doctors will go into, and the scientists will go into, there's at least 4 different mechanisms of why this reduces your inflammation. And that reduced inflammation gives your body a break, so your hormones can function, so your mind can function. Like it reduces the inflammation in your gut. And I think the reduction in inflammation is what is so maybe helpful to the gut. I know people talk about the gut paralysis. Let's go into that in a second. But the reduced inflammation, now you have less of a leaky gut. Now your gut biome can change. So even if you come off of this, you're coming off of it with potentially a better gut biome. So you're coming from a better place there. We know the importance of the gut biome. We know that there's a connection between the gut and the brain. So it's reduced brain inflammation. So people will see better mental health, less pain throughout their whole body because of that reduction in inflammation. And better hormones. You hear about the PCOS people have, and that this helps with their hormones. So just the reduced inflammation piece alone is golden. And I think that might be part of the reason why there's so much cardiovascular benefit there, because we're taking some of the pressure off of the cardiovascular, giving it a break. So I know for a fact, finally, I have a tool to help with this inflammation I've been struggling with. Okay, so next thing. When I started this, I was carnivoring hard because I was like, this is my last shot, and I just have that in my brain that I have to work everything hard. So I lost way too much weight at first, and I knew this isn't what I want. I don't want to lose a ton of weight really fast because I've already lost 2/3 of my hair from carnivoring hard. Like, after a whole summer of sardine fasting, I had a shed and a shed and a shed, and then the shed went on for a very long time. So even carnivoring hard affected my hair, and I did not want that. I don't want to affect my thyroid either. My thyroid's already in the tank. We don't want to tank that anymore. So I pulled back, and instead of eating like 1,100 calories a day, which I was doing the Maria Emmerich challenge, this wasn't something I set myself. I was following a meal plan. I just started eating maybe some days the noise is a little bit quieter. So maybe you'll eat just 2 meals. And so it'll be like 1,300 calories, but then the noise kind of comes back because there's a 5-day half-life. And on the other days, I would just eat at maintenance or above. And I still continued to lose weight. So there was a weight loss period. It was like, wow, this is actually working with my body. Like, I'm seeing results for my work, where before it was like, yeah, I could like chunk off 8 pounds, but it was like, ugh. And this was like, woo. But where I really knew it worked, there's 2 more things, but I reduced my carnivoring hard even more and just kind of lived. I was still tracking my food, but I wasn't as serious about the working out. And I still lost like 5 pounds in a month. And so that was like, wow, my metabolism is better. Okay, this is going to make everybody cringe, but I had to kind of do an experiment because my theory was, nobody out there ever told me this. This was a theory that I made up in my head, that a GLP-1 would actually help my reactive hypoglycemia. So when we were at the Apple Festival, I tried a piece of apple pie. I know. That was like my first sugar in like 10 years. Okay, you guys, this is very scary stuff. And my limbic system alone from all the hypoglycemia could have set me off, but it didn't. I did not have reactive hypoglycemia. I didn't feel that racing of my blood sugar going up. It was just, what I did have though was sugar cravings for the rest of the day. So it wasn't optimal, but it does help with my response to the insulin and the glucagon. Do you guys know what glucagon is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is communicating better. And now I know because I did a test. I did another test. We were at Keto Palooza and we were eating, my friend and I were eating a fancy dinner, and they put these buns on the table and they were like all glistening and looking, blah, blah, blah. And I tried one. I know. It's not optimal what I was doing, but I wanted to know if I was going to have hypoglycemia. And again, I did not. So I've done a couple of experiences where I just know that the slight slowing of the gastric emptying coupled with the antagonizing the receptors to act appropriately has put the communication back online, and I'm processing food better. So then finally, how do I know? Because life got busy. We moved for the 5th time, and I'm moving by myself with 4 kids. So I just didn't have time to exercise. And I was going from 5 a.m. until 11 o'clock at night, moving and taking care of kids. I didn't have time to track either. So I was just me out in the wild and not upping my dose either. And I gained like 3 pounds, but reality, I started tracking again and cut out a little tiny bit of dairy, and the 3 pounds was just inflammation that immediately came. It wasn't an actual weight gain. And here's another one. Before, when I would have my cycles, I would literally gain 8 to 14 pounds every single cycle. My female cycle, I'm talking, Todd. And now 2 pounds for one day. And the 8 to 14 pounds would stick around for a week and a half or 2. Like, it didn't just come back off throughout the cycle. It was awful. So I would have this whoosh every cycle, but then I'd have that right back up every cycle. And now maybe 2 pounds for a day. So it absolutely is doing something underneath.
All right. So let's take it from the top. So one thing that I'm very concerned about with the GLP ones is the I think it's called what is it called, sarcopenia or whatever, that most people are losing more lean body mass than fat. And so that's one that I'm real concerned with. And the other one is, I hear this a lot, that GLP-1s are just a peptide, but there's a lot of terrible peptides out there, right? A peptide just means it's an amino acid strand, I think, of like less than 50, and more than that, it's called a protein. So it's basically protein and peptide chains, which are common. There's a lot of good ones of those, but there's also a lot of terrible ones of those. And a lot of the terrible ones are like rattlesnake venom and Gila monster venom. And that's kind of what the GLP-1 mimics, is like the Gila monster venom. And that's why they call it a GLP-1 antagonist, because it's pretending to be a glucagon. It's pretending to be glucagon or whatever. And it's having that effect. But wouldn't it mean, and this is what I'm always worried about, and these are all the questions that I have on it, and I think this is why there's so many questions I have on it, but wouldn't it be that if you are using it to just act like glucagon, that whatever the underlying issue is, that your body's not creating the right signaling, and it doesn't have the right relationship with glucagon as is? Aren't we just kind of covering up the underlying problem that needs to be healed?
Good questions. Okay, so first let's start with the muscle loss. Studies show that the muscle loss is from people not eating. And if you get gastric bypass, you have muscle loss. If you go on any restrictive diet, you have muscle loss, and it's the same exact percentage. Now, the difference is that you continue to take this and it continues to work, so people can take it further. People can only run and restrict so far. So they never, I don't know if people, it's rare for you to take it as far as you can with the GLP. Because your appetite becomes ravenous at some point. And so if you don't have something that you're taking, it's hard for you to get to that point that some people have gotten to, where they've lost that muscle. But if you watch, there's one with Dr. Tina Moore on Mind Pump. You know those guys?
I haven't heard of them.
Oh my gosh, they're awesome. You guys would love them. You would love them. So the Mind Pump guys are very good at helping people heal, gain their metabolism, gain their muscle. It's a lot about muscle. And as before they interviewed Dr. Tina, who talks a lot about these, they all tried it. And they're dudes. They're like bros, And one did it because he had a ton of autoimmune conditions, which I don't know if I went into that. They're saying because of the reduced inflammation, because of the autophagy potential, this can help people with autism, potentially, MS, rheumatoid arthritis, all the autoimmune conditions. This is amazing for people with autoimmune because of the reduced inflammation and the autophagy, which Dr. Boz has been talking about. I'm so excited that she finally gets it. I was sitting back going, you're the brain lady. When are you going to look at the studies? And now she has, and she just lights up when she talks about it, because she said, if you couple this with ketosis, it's unbeatable, the autophagy that can happen in the brain, in the body. And so if you're going low and slow, and what does that mean? To me, that means you get hungry when it's mealtime. If you take too much of this, and that's going to be different for every person, which we can go into next. If you take too much of this, you can go the whole day and not even realize that you didn't eat, because it quiets that hedonic urge to eat. But if you take a low dose, you're still hungry when it's mealtime. It's like getting a normal level of hunger. And so a lot of people say it's like a switch, and you're like, I had no idea people walked around like this. Like there's a reason that there's other people who don't binge and snack, and it's because they don't have food noise. They don't. And so when you get to have that communication a little bit more normalized, it's like a switch, and you just go, okay, there's definitely something wrong. So the guys took it. The one guy took it for his autoimmune to see if it would improve. And the other guy took a microdose to see if it could actually regenerate his muscle. And he said, as he was working out, he could feel how much he was pressing. He could feel the energy. He said it was similar to a feeling of taking testosterone, because it really is regenerative itself. And why are people losing muscle? Because they're being overdosed, not necessarily even by choice. Insurance companies are saying, you follow the studies, and the doctors are saying, you follow the studies or we're cutting you off. And the studies say you need to up. And some insurance companies will say you have to lose so much weight or you're not following the protocol properly and we're cutting you off. There's a whole bunch of shenanigans going on why people are upping themselves, and it's not necessarily their choice, because if you have to pay for name brand out of pocket, it's $1,600. So if you can get insurance coverage by following their rules, who you trust them, they're here to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So that's the muscle loss piece. Now, your second question is really good, and I'd like to dig into this more. My theory is there's essentially a type 1 diabetes, but it's GLP-1. Diabetes isn't the right word because that's for insulin, right? So the same type of thing for GLP-1, and there's a type 2. So type 1, just like a type 1 diabetic, they're not producing enough insulin or GLP-1. They're not producing enough to be fully functional. So if you just give them little bits, their body kicks off. So like, I think a type 1 takes low dose insulin, right? And if they took too much, they'd be very sick, right? So just low doses for them. And that really helps their body move on. Maybe there could be many reasons of why they're not producing enough. Okay. Type 2 is straight up resistant. And so this is the category I'm actually more worried about, because I actually think I'm in this category. So I think more studies are going to come out by this, but potentially this is why the type 2, you can't just take Unamate tea. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. You can just take allulose, because like with me, with the lion diet, I was able to produce a whole bunch of GLP-1, but I think my body is potentially breaking it down too fast. It's attacking the GLP-1. And so it's not working properly. So I take way more than my husband does, but yet I have almost no appetite suppression, and I'm still using all the tools I've always had to use. They just work better now. Where he is taking less than the starting dose. He went to the starting dose after like 4 months and it was too much for him. So he backed down. He can't even take the starting dose, and the guy can go all day without eating. So I think we have 2 buckets. So when Ben Bickman talks about these, he's very anti these, by the way, very, very anti. He says things that just make me cringe. But anyway, he does have a point that if you give a type 2 diabetic insulin, doesn't that make the resistance worse? But now we're in a spot though of like, well, what do you do? And so I would like to dig down the hole a little bit further with the type 2. I do have questions with this, but here's my thought is, how am I going to make this sustainable, stay as low as possible, consider cycling, coming off, coming back on, making sure I'm eating nutrient-dense foods that are satiating, because if you're eating the processed foods, if you're eating the carbohydrates, if you come off of it, you're going to have all those cravings, And I've been working with a coach on my relationship with food, because I don't think that a drug can, even though I now see there actually is a disconnect between the brain, the hormones, and the gut. And that is part of the reason that some people have disordered eating, binge eating tendencies, grazing tendencies, because the signaling is off to tell you whether or not you're full or you need more. The signaling is off too of what we should store and what we should use. But you got to couple that still with making sure you're working on, am I eating foods that serve me? Am I consuming things that serve me? So that's my thought so far on how am I going to make this sustainable until we continue to play out what is the long term of the receptor burnout, of the resistance potentially. In the meantime, just low dose, cycling, and even people I think who are in category number 2, if you couple all the tools together and you consider the cycling, I think this can still be a long term. If we want to burn all the receptors out and go high dose, full throttle, and burn out our appetite and not stick to foods that are serving you, not play around with that, I don't know that this is going to be a long term. What do you think? I'm just being honest. I don't think it's perfect. Sure. Just like I don't think carnivore is perfect.
For sure. No, and I think we're all working through some really nuanced things, but here's my issues with it. On one hand, some things that you talk about are making a difference for you because it's the anti-inflammatory, or it's getting rid of inflammation in your body, which is a big one. But then on the other hand, we talk about the signaling and it's lowering your appetite. And we almost talked about that like that's a positive thing. I don't think that's a positive thing. I've never thought that. What I've learned out of carnivore is that our signaling is messed up, which is also one thing that I take exception with on how it suppresses inflammation. It suppresses inflammation by suppressing the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines like the TNF and alpha and IL-6. But anyhow, it does this through downregulating the NF and KB signaling pathways, which are the key regulators for inflammation in the body, and can also directly attack the immune cells. But anyhow, so it's playing with the body's signaling, and it's doing that both for inflammatory markers and also for hunger markers. And I don't think that there's any possible way of being successful long term with that not having a kickback, right? We see this stuff all the time with bariatric surgeries. We see this stuff all the time with diet pills and things. And that's why the word antagonist drives me crazy, because it's literally just, it's like an exogenous or a fake response that we're pretending to be something that we're not, that the body's not getting it naturally, which keeps, to me, it's like we keep burying the root problem and not trying to address it. And I get the urge to do that, because man, some of us are really in a bad spot. Some of us have really got in a pickle. But what I found in SBG, that actually embracing the appetite and feeding the body to heal the signaling hormones and to nourish the body, and then let it eat, even when I have to gain 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 pounds sometimes, and let it eat, and then let my hormones calm down and everything. And, even get, like, I'm even going through a little bit of it right now with a oxalate dump that I just went through. Swelled up, gained like 44 pounds, but just lean into healing with the nutrition, and then letting my body do the work, and then letting it come off. I kind of have to ride this up and down roller coaster with the weight, put it on the back burner, and put healing to the forefront for playing the long game. Because my idea is that the long game, because I played the short game. I played the short game for, 26 years of, extreme dieting and restriction and all the stuff. And like you, I lost 300 pounds twice in my life before, lost 200 pounds twice in my life before, and just gained it back. And so now that I'm doing this, I'm actually letting my body heal. And I'm really trusting in the signaling now that's coming back to me, which seems to really be benefiting me in the long run. And that's taken a lot of work to get here. But what I've found from it is something that you hit on about the addiction side of things and the sugar addiction side of things. And what I found from it, as near as I can tell, is 100% freedom from those addictions have completely went away. And now I can really trust my hunger signals. And so that's what I would, some of the things that I feel like those GLP-1s are manipulating are actually some of the things that I'm cherishing on the carnivore journey here, because they're things that I finally gotten straightened out that seem to be making a big difference for me. And so I wonder how that can be sustainable on a GLP-1 over 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, how that's going to look,
So the studies are showing that you will still have good signaling with your communication between your gut, your hormones, and your brain with things like meat. But it's not, I don't know if it's going to work for sugar and processed foods. So I believe that the effects of having more proper signaling are going to be long-term, especially if you're watching what you eat, you're lower carb or carnivore, and you're avoiding things that are made to be addictive, made to hack your brain. Like I believe that if you want this to be a long-term, you're going to have to make change. Now, as far as leaning into the hunger, I'm telling you, until you try this, you don't even realize that the hunger that people are dealing with is not normal. It's really not, it's completely off. And to white knuckle through it constantly is, so I know a guy who was, after The Biggest Loser, he kept his weight. I know actually several of these. They kept their weight off for a very long time. They altered up what they did. They documented what they did. So they're very truthful. They were able to keep most of their weight off for like 10 years. But I think that what I think is happening is undiagnosed insulin resistance. And I just question if food can always heal that insulin resistance, because even 10, 12 years down the line, it still came up on them. They still gained the weight and they still struggle to lose the weight again. So something's not processing right underneath. And this actually helps with that. I want there to be a natural solution. And I think for some people, maybe in one category where you necessarily like the fit to fat to fit guy. Okay. So he was able to gain weight. Sure. But losing weight isn't a big deal because he's really not metabolically busted. He is not the same as us. And his whole entire experiment is bull because he is not obese. He doesn't, I don't want to call it a disease. He doesn't have metabolic dysfunction, period.
Right.
He doesn't. And so
sure.
all that he did was just rub it in our face that some people are not metabolically busted, but everybody else is. And so to compare us in the same, it's just not the same. Okay. So I just question. Okay. First, I want to tell you, I've said this many times, and I hope it's okay to say this. Todd, I hope you prove me wrong. Like, I am praying that what I'm about to say is actually incorrect and that we actually can carnivore our way and all the other things, because I know you do other things, lifestyle our way out of this. I want that to be true. I just feel like it's not. In my bones, I feel like something unnatural has disrupted our systems and we need something else to put it back into alignment along with lifestyle changes. Like, I'm not saying people can just eat candy and go on their life. Like, I have one family member who she just doesn't know. So this isn't a thing. She thinks that it's healthy to eat salad with seed oil on it and skip the meat.
Right.
And she's coupling that with this medication, and she just doesn't know that she's actually harming herself. And so I think that's the type of thing of like, that's most of these people taking these drugs is that's what they're doing. So I wish our community could come out and say, couple the two together. I have another family member who was vegan. And so she hasn't talked to me in 2 years. And after doing this, she had a body scan, saw all her muscle loss, and said, Adrian, I think people who are on this should be carnivore. And I was like, okay, anyway. So I am hoping and praying that you prove me wrong, that people need more to work on that underlying dysfunction than just lifestyle. I feel like something more is needed, just like I feel that women really, really benefit from added bioidentical hormones, whatever that is for them, because something has disrupted our systems. You shouldn't be going into menopause. Essentially, we have a different name for it now. You shouldn't be going into menopause at 35. We shouldn't have all these women walking around with absolutely no libido. We shouldn't have women walking around, everybody's infertile. Something is off with our hormones. And bioidentical hormones, which I'm going to put this kind of in a similar category. I know you talk about how it's manufactured, but it's actually manufactured to be like an organism that is like our body. It is not synthetic. And why does it last longer? Because they've encapsulated it. I want to say it's in like a cholesterol ball. They've encapsulated it in something that's somewhat natural that takes time for our body to break down. So it's a slow absorption into our body. Okay. So I'm praying that you prove me wrong, Todd. But if you want to take a GLP-1, let me know. I'll help you. Okay. Okay. And then I just wanted to say, I think that the reason people are struggling is because I think we're underdiagnosing insulin resistance. And I don't know if that's what we want to call it. Do we want to call it insulin dysfunction, where we're not processing our energy properly? And I think it's highly underdiagnosed. And I think our testing's poor. I think it's probably in the same bucket as our thyroid testing. You know, we're testing the wrong thing. We're looking at the wrong thing. Okay. How is this different than bariatric surgery? Bariatric surgery doesn't touch your brain. It cuts your stomach. Now you can't eat. And you're still having all those, I'm going to call it unnormal food signaling. So it's like being a starving person, being a caged animal who's not being given any food because you can't physically eat. And then we're being told you need to eat 10 or 800 calories a day of liquid. It's just like a starvation diet to begin with. And then now you don't even absorb your food anymore. I think bariatric surgery is barbaric now. But I feel like this is different because it's actually working on making the signaling proper. I feel like the reason we have to slow down our digestion is because we've been eating so many processed foods. And I'm not a huge processed food person. I've been eating whole foods for like 10 years, but if something got off, like with my upbringing, I ate all kinds of noodles and potatoes and things that are just easy to just boop right through our digestion. And so our body's used to flushing the food right through instead of being able to just slowly break it down and process it.
Yeah, but see, that's one of my biggest issues with it is that it is messing with the signaling, and that we both agree that our signaling's off. But one of the biggest things is I feel like it's manipulating the signaling, and one of the biggest things that I love about carnivore is that when everybody goes, well, you only poop once a week or twice a week or whatever, that's crazy. Well, it's because we are digesting most all the material that we're eating, and it's appropriate. We're absorbing it and putting it to use, and so we don't have all this stuff that's being pushed through. Where before we're on the standard American diet, and everybody thinks you got to go to the bathroom twice or 3 times a day. It's because we aren't digesting that. Maybe it's because it's not real food. Maybe it shouldn't be in there. It's a toxin or whatever. But that's what has healed for me on carnivore, is that we can see, and with carnivore, we can see that a carnivore diet, that food is very digestible. It's not just getting pushed through us, and our bodies are utilizing it. And we watch that when it heals, when you eat a lot of carnivore foods, it heals your metabolism, and then it starts to work on your hormones, especially if you get your fat up there. But you have to be okay with gaining weight for an extended period of time and letting your body heal while that's happening. Where I feel like we're kind of putting the cart before the horse sometimes when we are trying to manipulate signaling with a man-made product or whatever you want to call it, that's manipulating the signaling. I don't think we're giving the proper signaling a chance. Now, I totally get what you're saying, because let's say testosterone replacement therapy is also an instance where we've kind of decided that that's just not going to heal. So we have to put exogenous testosterone in place to do this work. You're kind of saying that these GLP-1s is kind of helping that out as well. But the only thing that worries me is it doesn't look right when you're saying that it's causing digestion to slow down. And that's, we're saying that like it's a good thing. Are we sure that the digestion is supposed to be slowed down? It might be helping in the long run because it's cutting off these signals to make us hungry, but is that natural? Is that what we're supposed to be doing, or is there a different problem?
I think this is just overcoming some damage that's done. There is a there's a scientific research that's being done, and they show that the beginning part of many people's intestines who specifically are headed towards insulin resistance, that there's damage inside the intestine. Now, I'm going to put my tinfoil hat and say, I believe that somebody out there knows exactly what's damaged. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be multiple things. But we for sure know that people who are struggling with insulin resistance, one of the things that can be is that damage to the beginning of the intestine. They have a non-invasive type of, oh man.
No worries.
Sorry. They have a non-invasive, I better put do not disturb. Sorry. Non-invasive way to actually work on that. And that they're saying is actually a much more, sustainable way, because instead of taking any medication at all, you're actually healing what's broken. So I'm just wondering if this could be a tool until maybe it's ever released to us what's actually off. So right. I think maybe there's some damage in the brain receptors. Maybe there's some damage in the gut receptors. Maybe there's some damage in the intestine receptors, but there's for sure some damage. And so I just don't know. So one of the things that's in my head and my mind is the number of doctors you talk to who say, I have people who've been doing all the right things for 10 years. And they can't seem to get into that level of ketosis. They can't seem to get into that level of fat adaptation. And they're just really struggling no matter what we throw at them. And they're coming in here and they're devoted people. I don't think they're lying that they're trying all the things. And this is pretty common in like women who have menopause, that they'll come in and say, I'm doing all the things and I'm just struggling. So that's what's kind of in my head is, the number of doctors who have said we've thrown everything at these people and it just doesn't seem to be working.
All right. Let me pull up this real quick and oh shoot. How did I not have that up already? I must put it down. Hold on. I'm going to just reiterate the giveaway here real quick, and then we'll take some questions because we have several starred questions for you. So we are doing an air fryer giveaway for a tasty air fryer. Whatever channel you're on, if you can just follow that channel, give the video a thumbs up, and then put in the comments #tasty, just as you see it spelled here in all caps letters. You will be in for the drawing at the end of this. So, and then if you follow, we have 3 streams going on, mine at Carnivore Cure, Limitless Lindy, and Adrian. And so you can go to any one of the channels that you're watching this from, or kind of channel hop around and get extra entries by following those same instructions on each channel. We appreciate it so much. And then, Adrian, we got some questions in the chat here. So let's go.
Can I just say to the person who just called me a nut job, I'm really nervous. I have absolutely loved the carnivore community. I have loved it to my soul. I go to meetups. I have lots of friends in this community, and I love it so much. And I'm not one to make waves. I'd prefer, especially after The Biggest Loser and then gaining all my weight back, I'd prefer to actually just shut my social media completely down and just be quiet and be with my kids. But my heart feels like I just have struggled so much. And then I think the reason your intro makes me cry is because I thought before I met you guys that those people just don't live by me. And then it dawned on me, they don't leave. I don't get to see them. I don't get to hug them and tell them, I see you struggling and I love you and I think you're wonderful and you're a human being too. And there's help out there. There's so I just feel like, and then I remember the 8 years where I hid because I was so ashamed that I had gotten up to 330 pounds, and so I just don't want people to sit out there and be alone. And so I also just don't want to be rejected again.
No, for sure not. And yeah, no, I got to say, first of all, Adrian's a big friend of the show and she's always welcome here. We are not a cult group. We're not a, we're not a, a cultish whatever group that kicks people out. We really need to get to the bottom of this. And it's one thing I love about the carnivore community. One thing I love about Steak and Butter Gang is that it's just a bunch of people trying to get healthy. There's nobody selling anything. Nobody's trying to twist your arm. But what we're trying to do is get to the answers. And, the reason why I'm asking hard questions is because just as much as I'm worried about our audience doing something that might have bad effects, there might be some answers in here too that we can come to. And that's what the whole point of open discussions are. Is I don't agree with GLP-1s, but I also don't have all the answers. And I also know that carnivore doesn't have all the answers. And I also know that all the answers, like we are all trying to get to the truth and we're all trying to heal our bodies because we're all fighting for our life. And this is fighting for so many people's lives. So we don't shut down any kind of conversations here. We're just going to dig through them. And I totally understand why, Adrian is trying this. And I understand why Adrian, both Lindy had bariatric surgery and my mom had bariatric surgery and my sister had bariatric surgery because this is a tough battle that we're fighting. And we can't be hating on people for trying stuff. So I'm mostly just want to get to the bottom of it because I'm worried for your long-term health, and so I really want to get to the answers to this thing. And I want to do this again too with like Dr. Phil and maybe one of I forget the gal's name that you said. I'd love to get her on the show.
More.
Yeah, let's get her on and let's get like a Dr. Phil on, and then let's get to the truth because if there's a pill out there that it helps us, I'm all for it. But I have such a distrust in the things that I've seen about it, and I have such a distrust for these things being real. Usually, what happens, that I've just like the bariatric surgeries, right? They're all the magic pill. They were the absolute answer. You're crazy. Why don't you just go and do it? And now I watch my mom wasting away with, Parkinson's right now, and I can't feed her enough because she doesn't have a stomach. I watch my sister go through these things. I watch all the nonsense, and I've just never seen anything unnatural that was man-made be the answer. Never seen it. So I would like to be right too, but mainly because I would like to be able to find my way through this. And all I can say is out of everything that I've tried, carnivore and allowing my appetite to open up to heal has been the only thing that set me free from addiction, from all sorts of addictions, and has been healing my body. Now, I still have like 150 pounds to lose, but this has been the easiest 315 pounds I've ever lost in my life. As far as you said, the magic word, white knuckling. I haven't white knuckled this at all. There is no white knuckling here. And that's why I'm convinced that this works, is because it's taken a while. I think it could take 5 years, but things are healing. Things are healing, and I'm getting better every day. And I don't have any disordered eating problems, and I don't have any addictions, including outside of food, like gambling and stuff that I used to have a problem with. All is gone. So I totally agree with the mental aspect of this, but yeah, no worries. Some people, I don't know, Don't be mean
Be
in the
nice.
Well, I am nervous, and I actually totally see what they're saying. I also, one of my main reasons for adding this is because they said it can really regenerate and heal your brain. And I've been struggling with my brain ever since getting the bad C word.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about. Oh, the kid. And it's been heartbreaking not having a brain. And I know my brain is coming back online. And that's one of the things that's amazing, but it's still sitting there struggling. There's so much regeneration that's needing. I have like, a weight thing in mind, but I have an inflammation thing in mind, a healing thing in mind. And at some point, people are probably gonna look at me funny, but I think that I'm going to have to couple it with ketosis or fasting to push the autophagy. And people are going to think that's all about weight. And it's not, because when I'm done fasting, I'm going to have to refeed. I don't want a muscle waste, but I want the brain. I used to be a subject matter expert in the corporate world, always, every team I was on. And now I can barely finish a conversation sometimes, and I jump all over the place, So that's one of my things here is for the brain. Another thing, my thought is, as people are scrolling over there, is that when you're a carnivore, you're probably coupling other things. You're probably getting fresh air. You probably stopped putting on sunscreen. You probably started swapping out your toxic products. There's so much more here. Like, nothing is monotherapy. Like, just eating meat alone might not be enough to get you to an even better place. You're probably swapping things out and moving your body and thinking about your lymphatic system. How many people got rebounders now? There's so many tools in our toolbox.
For sure. 100%. All right, let's take a question. Let's see. Adrian, have you considered lipedema as an answer? Your symptoms sound like a lot like the fatigue, etc. I have with my lymphedema, and Hashimoto's hyperthyroidism.
I definitely consider that I may have lipedema, but I want to say the utmost gratitude for, I probably have not the worst case at all, which now this is why I'm so intrigued by your guys' skin removal. Because, at one point at 5'3.5", I was 330 pounds. I do have skin. It does fly around as I move. I'm grateful for how it is shrinking down. I'm grateful that it is not inhibiting me from living in any way, shape, or form. But, like emotionally, it kind of holds you down. But I fear any surgery for cutting into the lymphatic system. And the area that has the most squishiness, like my arms are getting great. My face is great. I have no boobs left. But my legs and my bottom is swollen, and people will say, well, gosh, at that weight, you've got to be like a size 6. And I'm like, no, I'm a size 12, and I'm filling it out. Like, I can't breathe, and it's hanging out because my legs and my butt are swollen. And then if my kids touch my legs, it hurts so bad. And so I think I might have lipedema. My hope is some people have seen some relief from adding this peptide. Some have. And I wonder if slowly it could help my cells become more functional, because it seems to make a lot of cells more functional. But if not, it reduces the other fat around. So at least I hate the idea of surgically removing it, because are you stopping it from coming back? I don't know if you guys could tell me more about that, but I hate the idea of surgically removing lipedema, because I don't know if that gets to the root of the issue.
Well, I think there's some good information coming in on the horizon here. They created a dye test, I guess, for the lymphatic system that'll show you where the lymphatic fluid is leaking out. So just like a dye test, so they can go in and they can get rid of those, I guess, those broken lymph nodes in those areas, so that it does stop it leaking out. And then also, I think one of your issues you might be running into is the same thing that I'm running into with my legs. The reason why our weight can fluctuate so rapidly, and the reason why you move so much water when you got on the anti-inflammatory stuff, it's because I'm drawing a blank, man, Leslie Keith. Yes, thank you. When she came on, she talked about that we have this excess skin, and it's like a camel pack. It's like a reservoir. And so it fills up with fluid really fast. That's why our weight can, I can lose 34 pounds in a 24-hour period. I can move it just in fluid. And it's because I had so much room, which is one of the biggest reasons I'm excited to see Lindy get her surgery here in another month, because that gets rid of that reservoir. Plus, if they can go in on top of that, if they can start to identify those broken lymph nodes that are bleeding lymphatic fluid into the tissue, then they can get rid of those and close it up. So, and they can try to go get them when they get the skin surgery. So it's pretty exciting stuff. And I do think that just by having less room, right, it's almost like you're using your own skin as a compression sock or something by tightening things up. You don't have this huge reservoir for this big, swell of fluid all the time. And so that could definitely be that, because that's definitely causes pain in the legs to the touch. So
that could be causing a lot of stress too, because you're looking at the number on the scale and you're seeing it going up, but it's not fat, it's fluid. And then you're stressed out about it, and that puts you on another spiral because you're freaking out and your cortisol rises. And when your stress levels are up high, it just makes things so difficult. So
rough.
Do you guys get it though, where your clothes don't fit? Because the second I get that inflammation, it's mostly from the waist down. It's like that is where the inflammation goes, and then my pants don't fit.
For sure. Yeah, it's super annoying. It's super annoying. I just I just finally got the scale into the 3s, and that took forever to get there. And then I had a histamine dump, and I gained like 44 pounds of fluid just in like 2 weeks. And now I'm still working on getting that off. But I just have to not care, because I know that the healing's happening. And I know that from other things. When I'm going out, working out, I'm lifting heavier. I'm feeling, way stronger. I have so much more mobility. All of these things are healing. So it's okay. But we have to give ourselves, we have to be kind to ourselves and just get rid of all the nonsense, because we worry too much about these numbers on the scale. Puffy face when you're playing all this stuff drives us nuts.
Yeah, we're still in a different place to you where you are, because you're already at your goal, very close to your goal weight. We've still got a long way to go, so our fluctuations are all over the place. We've got the loose skin, and so like I've still got the baggy clothes. I don't notice because I refuse to go and buy new clothes because they're expensive at this size. And I plan to get smaller, so I'm just living with my big baggy clothes. So I guess I don't notice it as much as you would, because you are so close to your goal weight. I mean, to me, you look fabulous, and you probably don't want to hear that. You look amazing.
I do. This is a comment I get constantly. I constantly get this comment. So are you just not going to be happy until you get to your goal? Who said I wasn't happy? I'm freaking elated. I'm sorry. I feel what is the elation though? It's the fact that I was able to breathe for 2 months and do life, and I didn't gain 30 pounds. That right there, that's the win, is just being able to breathe and live. And it wasn't because I upped my dose. It had nothing to do with my dose, because I stayed at the same dose. I just ate food and lived, and I didn't gain a whole bunch of weight. I was able to have dairy. I was able to go on a cruise and not tell them, please clean the grill. Don't let any seed oils touch it. Don't put any sauces on it. Don't put any vegetables on it, because it'll make me sick. I just kind of let them bring it out, and I scraped what I didn't want off, and I ate it, and I had no food reactions and carnivore, if I eat at home, I can avoid all the food reactions. But the second I leave the home, even if I'm just getting a burger patty, for some reason, their burger patties are full of histamine, and I'm sitting here sick. And so I was able to kind of keep some of those symptoms at bay by mostly eating at home. But the second I go into the rest of the world, even if I'm eating just plain meat and asking them to do all the things, I was still having food reactions. And now I'm having way less. So those are wins. But also from here on out, this is my thing. I could totally stay the exact same weight or even gain 5 pounds. But if I lost fat, that's kind of my goal right now. It'd be really cool to not be considered overweight in a fat category.
Right.
But that's all just a bonus. Does that mean I'm not happy?
Well,
that's a bonus.
I can't wait to hear what your DEXA scan says too, because that's one of the things, they say that people on the GLP-1s can lose anywhere from 40 to 65% lean body mass. And it's just like, that's not helpful to anybody to lose 65% lean body mass. That's a problem, and
because you lost bone too and cartilage.
Yeah, it's a real problem. Like you're not going to be happy in 10 years of that. And I'm not saying that you're doing it, because I know you're saying that's from an overdosing problem, but something to watch out for.
I wonder too, with standard people who aren't looking at keto and carnivore because it's traumatic to them. I wonder if they're eating complete protein too. So they think I got 120 in today, but they drank a bunch of shakes that were full of seed oils and crappy whey protein or crappy pea protein, not even like a good clean one, but like just a garbage one, or they ate a Built bar and they consider that part of their protein, and so they're still, Now I got to tell you a story. I have a really good friend and I talk to her every single day, and I did not tell her until probably a few minutes before I put it out there for the rest of the world, because I knew she would be so sad. They put her mom on this, and they kept her on standard dosing. And this is such malpractice because she's elderly. She not only lost all her muscle, she stopped eating keto because she wasn't craving it anymore. It was easier to eat other things. So she wasn't nourishing herself, and they overdosed her. And now she's in a nursing home and she's a fall risk, and they feel like they lost her. And it's all because this doctor followed standard dosing with an elderly person. And, so to tell her was kind of heartbreaking, but she still loves me and she's still my friend. And I think she might even be in the chat. And so I've actually, kind of turned her around a little because one of her mom's problems is non-alcoholic fatty liver. And this has shown to actually heal that. It's also shown to reduce some Alzheimer's symptoms by like 60% in people who are on track for Alzheimer's. And so there's in small doses. Small, not mega doses. Like if you take too much T3 thyroid medication, you're not going to feel good. If you take too much testosterone, you're not going to feel good. If you take too much of anything over the counter, you're not going to feel good. And I think that is a lot of what's happening here, is that the standard dosing was based on studies to prove they could make people lose weight without changing lifestyle. And so what do you do? People tell they can't.
How long have you actually been on Ozempic? How long?
Since September 9th.
September. Okay. So what are your long-term plans? Do you think there'll be a stage where you can just go off it and then use it just for when you go on those sort of outings, if you're going on a cruise or whatever, just to tide you over? Because you mentioned it helps you then. And then when you're back to home and cooking normally, that you wouldn't need it. Like, do you see this as you have to take it for the rest of the life, or do you think you'll be able to manage it?
I'll tell you what a lot of people will tell you who've gone on it, and they will say, and they didn't think they'd ever say this. Like my husband is a perfect example. He just thought, I'll lose a couple pounds. He doesn't believe me he's insulin resistant. He just wanted to lose a couple pounds. Okay, you guys? And after he tried it, he was like, I had to have the talk with him of like, some people say that for people like you who haven't made many lifestyle changes, that you may need to stay on a low dose of this for the rest of your life. And his response was, I'm never stopping this. This stuff's amazing. And you'll hear that from people all the time, that it has changed their quality of life to the point they cannot believe, because they're finally processing food fine. They're not having cravings constantly. And so they would say they would stay on it forever. Okay, here's my thoughts though. I've actually seen a family member. She lost so much muscle. She lost a lot of muscle. But as she lost her weight, she started actually to get her confidence back and started working out and eating meat and eating healthier, eating whole foods. And she's gained muscle. Now she's only 40. So she's at an age where she can gain muscle. This isn't going to be for everyone. You're older, you're going to struggle to get that muscle back. Don't lose it to begin with. But she is young and she was able to gain her muscle back. So she's working out and lifting, and she went off the medication and she maintained her weight loss for like 6 months so far. And they are saying that the metabolism healing and the insulin sensitivity is multiplied by lifting weights. And it's something different than just diet and exercise alone. And I've actually seen it in her, because when they said that, I was like, that sounds like, why would that be any different than eating carnivore and lifting? But they said something about the cleaning out of the old stuff and growing new stuff has helped the metabolism. So, okay, that's to say, I believe there's hope if people stay low and slow. They don't dose themselves to the point where they have no appetite, because I've heard people say your appetite is like a muscle. Now, Todd, your muscle's very, very strong. If you completely zap that out, like completely, which you can absolutely do with this, that muscle is going to be so weak. And I just think that you need to keep that muscle. So I'm on a low enough dose. I need to not snack. I have to actively not snack. I have to actively call people when I'm saying, I'm kind of struggling right now. Like, what do you think's going on with this? And they'll say, well, maybe it's the coffee you added. And I'm like, no. But we're working on what have I added that's maybe messing with it. I'm hungry for every meal. I can eat my entire meal. I take pictures of what I eat every day. I'm eating a lot of meat, and I'm post-bariatric surgery, you guys, and I can eat lots of meat. And so I'm not zapping that out. I'm just working on the insulin resistance and the other things. So
just out of curiosity, because you brought up something there that spawned a little curiosity, but have you ever in your journey, have you ever gotten down to like just the Lion diet, no coffee, just water, and then just let yourself eat whatever you wanted, as much Lion diet food as you wanted for like 60 days or 90 days or even BBB&E?
Yes.
And that didn't open up your appetite or fix anything or close or regulate anything?
So when I went Lion diet, I was a purist, and I did track what I was eating just because I was documenting the Lion diet, but I specifically did not go into a calorie deficit because at that time I was playing around with healing, metabolism, and I also had a significant fear that calorie deficits cause binging. And my health is more important to me than potentially putting myself in a position of binging. So I was specifically ensuring I was not in a calorie deficit. Many days it was 2,800 calories, which is kind of a lot for a short girl. But I was eating fatty. Lion diet, no coffee, just water, no sweeteners, no flavored electrolytes, no flavored anything, just ruminant meat, salt, and water. And I ended up, and so at first, that's where I was talking about how I felt like that kind of had a GLP-1 effect at first, but then it like came back. And that's when I was like, okay, my food addiction or my food noise, let's call it, is more than just a restriction thing. Like I can't restrict my way out of this. I really have to dig deeper. But you asked like, what is my plan to stand forever? One group where people say people stand it forever is inflamed people, chronically inflamed people, because I'm not going to lie to you. This is a Band-Aid for inflammation. This isn't a cure for inflammation. You come off of this, your inflammation is back. So people will say in standard medicine that if you're inflamed, you have to stay on this for the rest of your life because they want to sell it to you, right? My thought is I work with a CIRS doctor, and we are working very hard to lay out all the different reasons why I might be chronically inflamed and try to get to the root of it. And then my thought would be, I would hope I could get off of it. At a minimum, I see cycling in my future. I don't see taking it every single day for the rest of my life because I don't think that that's sustainable. And I want sustainable tools in my toolbox.
Perfect. All right, let's see. We got a bunch of questions actually.
Sorry guys, I talk so much.
No worries. Do you still take LDN? I'm on 3 in I'm not sure what all that is.
3 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. So you have a good pharmacy that you're working with, because some people take it all at once and they don't get what even to do. I do still take it, and I'm questioning if I need it. I've been taking it for 4 years, ever since I caught long Rovid-K. I guess that was 3 years ago.
So what is IDN? Sorry, I don't know what that is.
It's a low dose naltrexone. So this is where I'm kind of getting into, high doses of naltrexone do one thing. Well, low doses reduce inflammation and help people with autoimmune conditions. High doses of GLP-1 zap out your energy, zap out your appetite, you can't eat, slow your digestion so much, your body's not even moving, you're burping because your food is stuck in your stomach. And low doses of GLP-1 help move things along, help heal you. The gastro slowing is minimal. The appetite suppression, you can take a low enough dose, you have no appetite suppression at all and still get some of the healing benefits from it. So I think the poison is in the dose, and that's going to be different for every person because of, like I said, I think some people are resistant. I think some people are not producing enough. I think there's different buckets.
For me personally, I don't have any appetite, and especially eating carnivore, there's definitely no appetite, and I do have that off switch. So yeah, that seems a bit weird to me. I've failed everything. Like, I failed the lap band, I failed every diet. If I was to have something like this and then think I can eat things, the easy things for me to get down are the ice creams, the chocolates, you know, the slippery shit foods is what I call them. I can easily get that down. When it comes to meat, it gets stuck in my throat. I end up throwing it up. And this is a struggle with my carnivore journey. So if I was to take something like this, number one, I don't have an appetite. I do eat for comfort, and the comfort foods I would turn to are those slippery foods. I think that's going to set me up for disaster if I was to do something like that.
There's a lot of stuff coming down the line. I think you could take a low enough dose that it doesn't slow your digestion down and doesn't cause the appetite.
It's not about that. It's about it getting stuck. The food, it doesn't even hit my stomach. It literally, I don't know, there's something happening here where the food gets stuck.
That is crazy. And you had the gastric bypass?
No, lap band surgery. And it doesn't even, it's completely different. And I can easily, I never have hunger. So I don't eat for hunger. It's if I've got a lot of stress in my life, I've always turned to food for that comfort. And it's sort of, not that it makes things better. The stress is still there at the end of it. And then I just hate myself even more because, you know, I've snacked or done something wrong. So the fact that you could, just turn to those foods still, and it's not going to affect my insulin levels or whatever. It's not nourishing food, and it probably will
have that reversed.
It was done 27 years ago, and I'm very scared that there's a lot of scar tissue around it, so I haven't really looked into it, but I'm hesitant for them to go anywhere near me. I don't trust, like, it's a big thing to get this surgery done for my skin. I have a lymphatic specialist. I made sure that he's a lymphatic specialist to do that. But I am nervous that they're going to make something that they shouldn't, and then I'm going to have lymphatic issues. Like, I've still got that big fear, but there's something that I need to have done. I can live with this. I've been living it, 3 years carnivore now. I know how to deal with it, and it's kind of better the devil, I'd rather that than for them to try and take it out and then do something and give me more problems, if you like. So, yeah.
So my gastric bypass hypoglycemia is so debilitating that I've been looking into reversing the surgery. And here's what I found is that the problem with my hypoglycemia isn't just the fact that they're skipping 120 centimeters. It's also that somehow a piece of my intestine got damaged, nerve damage. And so I'm not properly shooting insulin. And so they said, even if we reverse the surgery, that damage still might be there. And so I still might have hypoglycemia or even worse. And so I found this group on Facebook. It's called Post-Bariatric Hypoglycemia. So anybody out there who's struggling with this, please check out this group and you guys are going to love this. Okay. The only cure that anybody has found is carnivore.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, like, if I stick to carnivore, I have zero post-bariatric hypoglycemia. If I had green beans, if I had salad, if I had tortillas, low-carb tortillas, if I had anything until the GLP, hypoglycemia. And so if anybody out there knows someone who's struggling like I was with this nonstop roller coaster, you have a dive and you are sick for days. You are out. You are struggling with energy for days after a dip into the 36s. So that was something cool that I found. And then the other thing was people had found an added level of relief and maybe even add back some berries and stuff if they added the GLP. And so people have found both. Now, if they don't have a severe case, just the GLP could help them, but not with liquids. Liquids just right through still hypoglycemia. But anyway, I wanted to share that, no doubt about it, carnivore is the best tool for people with my condition. And so I'm so grateful I finally found it. It took 11 years, but I finally found it. And so you won't see on my channel ever me eating honey.
Right?
Good to know.
You know.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sherry asks, were you able to get off your thyroid medication now?
My doctor is convinced that if we can get to the root of my inflammation, I shouldn't be taking progesterone or thyroid. And he doesn't think I'll need peptides. If we can get to that root of that inflammation, the problem is the root of the inflammation my surgery? And undoing the surgery could cause the inflammation to be worse. So there's no really fixing if that's the root. But he believes, and I'm from Minnesota, and so the root, he believes that the root is, he thinks it's Lyme's disease. That's what he thinks. So we're doing an Ingenix test, and he said that it used to be $2,000, but now as of November, for some reason, insurance has a lot of coverage for it. So he believes I can get coverage, and it has a 98% accuracy versus all the other testing. It throws false positives and false negatives. So more to come on if I ever find the root.
Is this a standard doctor that you're seeing, or like, because yeah,
I
is
haven't
it
been a standard doctor in 100 years.
yeah, because the doctors here, I asked for a test and they're just like, oh no, we don't do those.
They say it's a myth. They said chronic Lyme's is a myth when you go in.
Oh, just getting an HbA1c is difficult. Oh, like, isn't that a standard test? Oh no, you're no longer diabetic. You don't need to do that, not for another year or so. And I can't get any answers. It's very difficult to get any kind of testing here. So I'm just wondering if it was just a normal standard GP, or are you seeing someone else different, like a naturopath or someone?
I found a chronic inflammatory response syndrome doctor. He is cash pay. However, he is a Christian and he's retired, but he caught CIRS himself. And so he came out of retirement. 100% of the proceeds above paying his secretary and his rent and his equipment goes towards a free clinic, because people who have Medicaid and Medicare have no coverage for mold, and they're also on assistance. And so I'm working with a Christian man who, after every single appointment, he prays. He only charges me for the minutes that he is with me. He's not out to scam people. Like the key phrase out there is mold is gold. And that is not the guy I work with. Unfortunately, because we live it where we do, all the states have started passing anti-telehealth laws where you can't work with a telehealth provider unless they are certified in your state. And that's ridiculous. And so you can only work with my doctor if you work in certain states, and you still have to go down to Florida where he's located every year for an in-person, because of all these anti-freedom laws, all these anti-see who you want to see laws. It's crazy that this is even passed. It's not crazy, but it's crazy where we live, the world we live in.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's see. Missy, what about the thousands of people that are under eating meat chronically? Then GLP-1 makes their appetite diminish. So
this is such a good question. This was the problem with my friend's mom, that she was overdosed. So she didn't want to eat meat. It didn't feel good. It felt like Lindy. If it was like getting stuck in your throat and you're getting burps, it's not moving. So I would say if you can't eat meat, you're taking too much. You need to lower your dose. I use compounded medication, not name brand, because name brand, you don't get to pick. You hit a button and injects the whole dose in you. You don't get to pick, and you have to make big jumps. If you buy compounded, you can take as little as you want. So I tell people the truth. People have asked me, does this help you get carnivore or not? I say both. If you're taking too much, you're going to have a hard time eating meat, and you're going to steer towards Lindy's foods. What did you call them? The shit food?
A slippery shit food.
Slippery shit food. That's what you're going to be attracted to if you're too high of a dose, because it's easy to get through and you're looking for energy. So I think it's in the dose. Another thing, obviously, is if you're starting to process food better than you ever have in your whole life, like you're not getting sick every time you eat sugar, you may be more tempted to eat that food. And then you get stuck in the addiction mindset of, you're having cravings, and it was okay that I ate it that one time, so I'm going to have it again. So I think people need to come in armed with, I eat the foods I do because they best serve me.
Yeah, still not that quick fix. It's a lot of work. Yeah, it still requires a lot of work to keep on track.
I'll list this question here too. I think it spawns from what we find. Pretty much the most common thing that we find for people is malnourishment before in carnivore. Most people don't, most anybody, that especially if you've been dealing with weight, spent a long time before we do something as crazy as carnivore, restricting for years, and absolutely destroying our metabolism. And so yeah, that is something that's definitely contrary, because I can't imagine there's so many people in SPG that have a hard time eating enough already, and then we literally watch them fight through the program for 4 to 6 weeks, and then finally their appetite opens up, and then they heal, and then they start losing a bunch of weight, and so it's especially visceral fat and everything. So it's kind of interesting because that would be tricky.
I wonder if we could open the door to, okay, so you're processing your food a little bit better. Your has food reactions. You don't have leaky gut anymore as bad. Mm-hmm. And so you're not having things that shouldn't be getting into your blood right away into your blood. It's actually hitting your intestine. That maybe if you're having an issue with meat, now you can actually handle a little dairy on top to eat that meat and get it moving. Now maybe you could handle a homemade or a Primal Kitchen sauce for the first time. Maybe you could handle a spice, especially because maybe before some of those things triggered you and your satiation was off if you added those things or you had a food reaction. But now your satiation isn't off. So I think there's a little room to actually help make the food more enjoyable, more palatable, and easier to move through your digestion, where before it just really wasn't a good option. Like for me, until I added this, I had to be clean slate. If a spice had some garlic in it, I was out for the count. If a spice had some sweetener in it, now my hunger cues are off. I have found non-nutritive sweeteners to be okay. And I do think it's a slippery slope. And I question myself if in 12 months, if that sweet relief I'm getting from non-nutritive sweetener, if that will fade and it will need to be something I will need to exit again. And if so, we got to keep our hunger cues in check. But for now, it's been working. But that's my thought on now. You can maybe make your meat a little more palatable. Now, some people who are metabolically healthy in our space are already doing that, but like people like me couldn't do that before.
Yeah, we're all different. We're all on our separate journeys. So not one size fits all, is it?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, for sure. Like, because some of the that term keeping your hunger cues in check, it's kind of like, I don't have that problem anymore. But I remember having that problem when I was stuck on all the soda and all the carbs, for sure. And so, yeah, it's very strange because, sometimes I wish I could just wave a magic wand and people could be free from the sugar addiction like I am now. But I don't feel, ever since I've gotten away from that, got what Lindy calls the off switch, I don't feel like I have any hunger issue problems. Like when I'm hungry, I eat, and that ends up being a good thing. And then I go through, I did 12 7-day fasts last year effortlessly with a high metabolism with no problem. And then when I was through that, my body said, okay, it's time to eat, and then put in the meat, but it never did go off the rails. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, I tell this to my audience a lot, but I'm always trying to backwards engineer how did I get here, because I do feel like my eating disorders have really been corrected and those hunger cues are working properly now. And so I'm always trying to figure out exactly what I did and how I did it to find that freedom. And we'll see if it takes us across the finish line. But I just wonder if carnivore can do that for everybody, or if it's something, or if people are just so different, I don't know.
I found myself when I was on Lion Diet, at first I had that great satiation, I had the quiet, but then towards the end, I found myself doing drive-bys with short ribs. So it was still there, even though I was not having sweeteners or flavors or carbohydrates. It was just the ruminant meat, salt, and water. And I was doing drive-bys I would put like what are they called? Flanken ribs. You put them in the air fryer and they're nice and crispy and fatty. I found myself cutting them into little pieces and grabbing one and walking around. And so I was like, my signals are off. And I just want to say, Todd, if there's anything we learned first in the carnivore community, people are so hard on carnivores, but the truth is that our community is the community that sees healing. Like we see that it's not just about restricting it's not calories in, calories out, it's healing. I feel we're the first, and keto community will also say healing is needed.
For sure.
And the fact that you had it as a child it's either your mom was bathing you in insulin when you were in her belly, or you were exposed to something as a child, because I too have been struggling since a child, and you cannot say that that child did something wrong. And you can't, I just have a hard time believing too that we were eating the same foods as the other kids, but we were struggling and they weren't. So I don't think it was just the foods. It was either the incubation we were in, or it was something we were exposed to, I think.
Yeah, I really think it was
Yeah.
the incubation for sure. That's what I see, because I see it with my brothers.
Mm-hmm.
When mom was eating less processed sugar, my brothers had less and less of a weight problem, and as it went on, as mom's diet got worse, the kids got bigger. That's basically what that looks like.
And with my kids, my biggest kid is my first kid, and that's when I was 265. My second kid, she's struggling too, but that's when I got up to 330. So those two kids both struggle. Then I had gastric bypass, which although it didn't solve everything, I did get down closer to 200 instead of 300. And even just, I don't know, maybe it does do a little something for insulin resistance for a while. So my second two kids do not struggle metabolically yet.
Right.
Like, I think it can still be destroyed.
Right. Oh, here's a question. Let's see. Anna asks, what do you eat?
So I have to take my thyroid medication on empty stomach. So I take that. Then I have a second medication. I think it's the LDN. And then there's like a standard process supplement also to be taken on an empty stomach. So my morning, I don't eat. And I don't even feel like I have a choice to eat breakfast really, unless I'm going to kind of sabotage the absorption of these two medications that have to be taken at separate times. So I wake up, take the first supplement, time, second supplement, time, the coffee with the half and half. And my friends are telling me that's the thing that's got to go. But why do I keep it? Because I struggled so hard with guilt and shame and this cycle in my head every time I tried to cut it, that I was like, well, if I can lose weight, become less inflamed, and keep it, I think that's healthy mentally. But now I'm seeing, I think it sabotages my adrenals. So as of today, no more. Okay. So I commit to myself 2 weeks, no coffee. You all heard it here. Okay. It also gets rid of those calories of that dairy in the morning. This isn't nutritive. It's not helping me. And it's caffeine and it's moldy and it's chemically and it's blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I go do my workout, and then at like noon, I eat breakfast, and it's always like 4 to 6 eggs cooked in lard. And then usually I put some cheese on top. I'm going to go with an ounce or two. Sometimes I weigh it, sometimes I don't. And then I'll often have a meat on the side. So I feel like I'm eating a decent breakfast. And when I add it up, I want to say it's between 600 and 800 calories for breakfast. Then I'll go a little time and I'll have like a mini meal. So I either have my mini meal in between breakfast and dinner, or I have my mini meal after dinner. So admittedly, sometimes I have my mini meal after dinner. Mini meal is usually leftover something or shrimp. I love, love, love shrimp. I'll just eat a whole bag of it, like 20 of them, because I just think they're so good. It feels good. Or like a whole piece of smoked salmon. I know that's kind of expensive. I'm sorry I'm saying that out loud. It's just so good. I love fish. I love seafood.
Yeah.
And then my dinner is always pretty much beef, like ground beef, like I don't know if I can eat a whole pound of ground beef, but it was a pound, but you cooked it down, or a steak, like a New York, or even it can be lean. It doesn't have to be fatty, but like my hamburger has to be fatty. I can't do if it's lean hamburger. I got to throw tallow in there. It's got to be fatty hamburger to me. Or I'll make do you guys eat picanha?
Oh yeah.
Picanha. Oh,
Wow, that was really timing.
exactly. Or it's got to be picanha, or it doesn't have to be expensive, but it has to be. I love beef. Now, admittedly, this is going to make people cringe, but this was in, again, the realm of stop being so restrictive. I started allowing myself to have some Quest chips. Cringe, I know. And so I was having Quest chips here and there, and that's my day. And it usually adds up, if I don't have the Quest chips, and I usually don't drink my whole coffee, it's really a ritual. It's really mental. It's stupid. Just like, I just got to get rid of it. some days I'll lean into and I'll maybe be like 1400 calories, and then other days I'll be 2800 calories. So it really varies. And I try not to be the same every day because I fully believe our bodies acclimate if you eat the same thing every day. And I think we should eat to hunger in a way, when you're feeling like you're on it. I don't know. When you're feeling like you can trust your hunger cues, so some days it's lower and some days it's way high, and it's been great. And I didn't lose hair. I thought with all of this, for sure, I was going to lose hair. I have not lost hair, and my nails are healthier than ever. I keep them short because I'm a mom, and that's just gross, all the dishes and stuff. But yeah, so my hair and my nails are feeling amazing.
That's awesome. Let's see. I'm going to put this up here. This is because there's a bunch of questions in here basically saying the same thing, and you mostly covered this, but I just want to do a quick recap. Do you think you'll stay on the medication for life?
I have no idea.
Fair enough.
I want to say, with the idea that someone does know what is actually damaged out there, I would hope that we could help if there's a way, like the spot in the intestine, they have a way to go in there non-invasively. I don't even know if they have to put you out. I don't even know. And they actually just heat it up, or maybe they red light it or something. It's something that doesn't hurt. There's no recovery time, and it just helps your body regenerate the cells in that area. And I believe we're going to find more and more of the spots, because I think it's different spots for people who are struggling in different ways. So that's what I'm hoping for, is that more tools continue to come out. And in the meantime, I'm loading up my toolbox. It is not one tool, it's 100 tools. And if you want to add more, I'll add more. I started mouth taping. I actually have these, but I think they look obnoxious on video. I shouldn't be so vain. I mean, who am I trying to impress here?
I think they do help.
Yeah, they have to. It's not natural.
For sure. 100%. Let's see. Julie Ash. So are you saying at low doses it helps you heal? Then after some time you'll be able to stop using the GLP-1. Where are you getting the low doses if the powers that be are pushing the high doses?
So I would go follow Dr. Boz. She's posting a lot of videos about this right now, because she's all in for the healing, because she's had patients. She's worked with them for years, trying to get them, not just, they do all the things. It's just, it doesn't kick them into the level they need to heal what has hurt. Like one person had a stroke. I think maybe another person had a heart attack. I don't remember all the stories. I'm sorry, but she's had different people who've had different events, and the ketosis, it's just not getting to the level it needs to, despite all the work they're putting in. So where do I get low dose? Well, this is tricky. We'll see what happens with the next administration, but technically the name brand is in shortage. And when it's in shortage, even though they have a patent, which we can talk about the patent, they tick me off, I'm going to be honest. They're holding us hostage, and I could go more into that. But while we're in a shortage, you can get it compounded. So that's where I get it. And what's great about compounded is you get a vial. You get to pull out how much you want to. So if you want a low dose, you can low dose. I really have a hard time believing tons of people are mega dosing, because large doses can be $800 a month, even compounded. So I'm sure people are doing it, but you'd have to be rich to do it. So I'm getting compounded. The next administration, we'll see. It's a mixed bag whether or not it will continue to be compounded, because the people with the patents, the big guys with the patents, are out suing everyone and trying to shut it down.
That's funny. Let's see. Oh, Hoosier asked, Adrian, have you ever tried dry fasting? I might have. Try soon. So my first month, I was carnivoring hard. I was doing the Marie Armour Challenge. Second month, I followed a guy named Dr. Jones. And Dr. Jones, I really liked him because he was like the only person in the GLP-1 space saying he has 10 pillars to success in life, having nothing to do with GLP-1. And one of his pillars is fasting. You guys would love him. You should have him on. I'll hook you up if you want to have him on. One of his pillars is fasting and feasting. He doesn't call it that, but so hearing him say that you could fast with this, I thought, you know what, this is a good chance to use the tool to fast. The first day is always hard for me, but once I get over the routine of eating,
then you start feeling good, right? So I started fasting, water fasting, and I was doing 2 days, and then I would often eat a dinner, and then I'd go a third day. And why? Because it just felt like an okay thing to do. So I'm not a full 3 days, but there's long periods of time. So it's 2 days with an OMAD, right? Also, they say not to just jump right in, right? So I figured if I feel like I'm starving, I'm going to eat a meal because we don't need to jump in. It doesn't have to be purist anyway. The fast went amazing. After the fast, I had the flu. So I tried this 3 times, and I gave 3 week. Well, not 3 weeks. I gave at least a week in between each attempt, and each attempt I had the flu after. And so I just figure my body isn't ready for that. I need to take it slower. So I'm sticking with intermittent fasting right now. So I won't be dry fasting because that's another level to kicking things out. And so I think I'd get incredibly sick if I dry fasted. And I have heard people say you have to be careful with dry fasting because it is so powerful that I don't know if people should just jump right into a 72-hour water fast. Maybe start with, 12 hours. I don't know. Don't listen to me about that one. But I just know my body isn't ready for a dry fast.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hoosier also asked, has your husband ever had a fasting insulin test? That would tell the story if he has insulin resistance.
He did. And he told me everything was fine. And then recently when they said compounding is going away, I said, how are we going to get insurance coverage? And he goes, oh, well, I'm a diabetic.
He didn't tell you. Wow.
I know you are. I can see it all over you because once you see it, you see it. You know, you can walk around and tell if people are inflamed or if potentially they're having insulin resistance to an extreme level.
That's funny. He was holding out. He didn't want you to give him a heck for eating the cookies or something. Just curious if any change to your bathroom habits since starting GLP-1s.
I'm going to go with no. However, I'm not a good person to ask because I already from here and there take my binders for chronic inflammatory response syndrome. And anybody who's taken these binders, it's called chlorostyramine. It's literal sand glue. There's no getting over the sand glue. So if I take my binders, which I slowed down because I started looking into the side effects, you know, I mean, it is a great tool. And I think pulling toxins out is really important. I don't think tanking my thyroid and my hormones is okay, though. And I think it kind of does. Yeah. Excessive long-term use of them does. So I slowed down on and then the minute I stopped taking my binders, I poop perfect. So it's been great for me. But my husband, who can't even take the starting dose, it constipates him if he gets close to the starting dose. So if you're on too much, you're constipated. But here's another thing. Constipation is rooted in, are you vitamin D deficient? Are you B12 deficient? Is it B1 deficient? Are you magnesium deficient? Like there's a bunch of deficiencies that cause constipation. And I think when we're flushing this inflammation, we're pushing some minerals out. I don't know that you have to take electrolytes and minerals the whole time you're on it, but it definitely, if you're reducing your inflammation, you're pushing some out and you want to make sure that you're not deficient. I've never had like the runs or anything.
There you go. You had 2 of those questions in a row, but I think that'll answer both of them. Let's see. Question, Adrian, I'm happy to meet you. A few years back, I tried out for The Biggest Loser, but never got on.
Oh, you know, some people feel so bad for me for getting on. It was really a life-changing experience. Was it the ticket towards my weight loss dreams? No, but it made me recognize that I'm the same person no matter what my size is. And also literally anything is possible, like anything.
That's awesome. All right. Question, has Lindy had the lap band removed? That can cause constriction of the whatever.
Esophagus.
Esophagus. Is that? Oh, okay.
No, I still have my esophagus. I think it's a U in there, but I could be wrong. That could be the cause of the food getting stuck. I still have my lap band. It's been in there 27 years. So, yeah.
Gotcha. So soon, though, you might be getting it soon. Let's see. My theory of what happened with myself and my kids who struggle metabolically is toxemia. What toxemia?
Yeah, preeclampsia. I feel like my mum had something going on because she swelled a lot with me, and I was the same. I think it's like a pregnancy condition.
I want to say that preeclampsia can be a downstream of insulin resistance, but I could be wrong with that.
Yeah, I'm
Because
just
I had
thinking.
preeclampsia, and when you ask them, why did this happen? Because it was severe and serious. They say it's a fluke. And it's like, how can this be the theory that it's a fluke? But yeah, that could be.
Well, that's interesting. I don't think I don't know what I was just trying to look it up and see if there's any connection between that and insulin resistance, but yeah, it sure doesn't seem like it when if you really pay attention, like it sounds like with your kids, with my siblings, I think, and that's what Jason Fung's research said was basically, you can have insulin resistant infants if the mother's diet has a ton of sugar in it, because the infants are having to battle this this huge glucose spike with their little pancreases, and they just get bathed in insulin.
You just made me realize I had a son come out with tremors and they couldn't put their finger on it. And I slightly believe it was the anti-anxiety medicine they had me on, which they told me was safe. And now we find out there are no depression and anxiety medications that are proven safe for pregnancy, period.
Wow.
None. But my baby came out with tremors, and I wonder if it was actually hypoglycemia.
Yeah, that could definitely be it. That'd be crazy though, huh? All right, let's do a shout out for the giveaway one more time. Whoops.
This is the fastest 3 hours of my life. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's awesome having you. All right, so one more time, we are giving away a tasty air fryer, $150 value at the end of this live stream, which we have coming up in about 45 minutes. We will be doing this drawing, and all you have to do to enter is whatever channel you're on. You have to subscribe to that channel. You have to hit the thumbs up for this video, and then put in the chat #tasty, all capital letters as you see here. And then if you go on to every other channel, which is Adrian's and Lindy's, or vice versa, for every channel that you do that, follow those steps on, you will get another entry. So you can get up to 3 entries tonight. So good luck to you coming up here shortly. And thank you, SBG, for donating the air fryer and tasty. So
Yes, thank you.
Awesome.
all right, let's see. Here we go. Let's see. Preeclampsia is a serious condition that involves high blood pressure and other signs of organ damage during pregnancy or after giving birth. It can be life-threatening for both the mother and the baby.
I just did a Google, and even Google says preeclampsia is strongly associated with insulin resistance.
Well, there you go.
Even Google.
Even Google can't hide it.
Yeah,
well,
the doctor will say is a fluke.
So where do we go from here? So, because obviously there's a divide, and we want to just get, we want to take away all preconceived notions and any of the drama and stuff, and we would just want to get the truth out there. So I think it'd be fun if you have any contacts with I forget the name of the doctor that you love with the GLP-1 information. What did you say her name was?
Tina, Tyna, Moore.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe we can.
Dr. Boz. You should have Dr. Boz on. And then there's Dr. Amy Horniman, and it's AMIE HORNAMEN.
Does Dr. Boz go on other channels? She's very big.
She almost came online as Lifestyle Live, so why wouldn't she come on your amazing channel?
Well,
in the end, we couldn't arrange a time because our show is so late for her.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, well, maybe we can try to work something out with one of those, and then maybe like I don't know, maybe like Hampton and Dr. Phil or somebody, and go through it.
Somebody made a great comment in there, which is that I'm saying they're just peptides. When you start looking into a lot of the peptides, there's a lot of peptides that they're so much more natural than a drug. It's not the same as a drug. Your drug, the body doesn't even recognize it. Your body does recognize these. But I'm not saying they're not serious. I've seen it. I've seen it. We've all seen it, right? We've all
Mhm.
seen people be overdosed. We've also seen, like I said, I have nerve damage. I could potentially have an issue if I'm taking the wrong dose. And I think the wrong dose is going to be different for every person. So I think people, if they try it, which it's not for everyone, just like I don't necessarily think everyone has to go carnivore. Some people can get away with keto.
Right.
So I don't think everybody has to take peptides. I see a lot of opportunity for healing in a lot of people. But I don't think everybody has to take them. And I do think you have to take your dose seriously. And that's going to be different for every single person. So I think we can agree there that different people need different tools. Like
Yeah.
some people need some thyroid medicine. Some people don't.
Yeah, my gut reaction to why I have a bad reaction to the GLP-1s is that there's so many people that I feel like are gonna so many people that I see jump into that as the miracle pill, and those probably are the ones that you're talking about that are tending to overdose on it too, right? And they're not using it probably responsible. And I just hate the idea of a magic pill just because I've never seen it pan out. Every promise that every magic pill has turned out has had terrible consequences that I've seen in my life and in other people's lives. And so I don't like how this is being sold as a magic pill that, well, because wouldn't you say that there's probably some people out there that are like, okay, well, now I can take whatever Ozempic and go eat fast food 3 times a day or whatever. And I think they're clearly going to have the biggest long-term health problems, but it seems like that's kind of a wreck, waiting to happen.
Every single doctor in our space who talks about this says it is not monotherapy and it is not a golden ticket. Not everybody loses weight. I think everybody can have some level of healing without any weight loss at all, but none of them say it's a golden ticket. All of them say that you have to couple lifestyle with this or it's not going to be a sustainable long-term thing for you. You're potentially going to lose muscle and bone. You're going to lose hair. You're going to lose your metabolism. Dr. Jones calls it zombie mode. And I had zombie mode after my gastric bypass where I was like, I'm so happy I did this. But I was struggling with chronic fatigue. I was literally starving. And so, yeah. And then one difference between this and let's say fen-phen is fen-phen did not actually address some of the metabolic issues of why people are struggling with weight gain and weight loss. It's actually helping with that disconnect of the hormones and the communication that's going on. It actually helps with the inflammation. It helps with that, and it heals cardiovascular health, and it can help you with your autophagy. One thing, when I did go into my fasting previously, when I would sardine fast. When I first started sardine fasting, I saw crazy, amazing ketones. I saw great morning glucoses. As the sardine fasting went on, because I did it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for pretty much a whole summer, by the end, my ketones were like 0.5. And people say, well, you're fat adapted. But after that, my ketones never went up again. And I wouldn't say I was fat adapted because I didn't feel like I was losing fat. I didn't feel like I was getting the energy. I didn't feel like I was getting the satiation. When you fast and like it kind of gets quiet and you stop having the cravings and you kind of get like energy and that boost. I was stopped getting that. And when I went on this and I started fasting, again, ketones through the roof and my glucose came down. So it like brought me back into moving quicker into that healing state. So that is one of the differences. It's actually working on mechanisms underneath where things like fen-phen are just like poisoning you and giving you heart attacks.
For sure. Let's see. So Tim says, is it reasonable to say the GLP-1 equals under eating?
If you're overdosed. Mm-hmm. If you're low dosing, absolutely not. I mean, even post gastric bypass, I can eat. And let me say, when I came to carnivore, I had a hard time with meat still, and I was 9 years out from surgery. I had to build like stomach acid when I came into this. And so it took time for me to be able to eat meat. So that could be, I feel like, pretty easily erased, and I can eat meat. I can eat meat.
Yeah.
If I couldn't, I wouldn't do it because I value nourishing my body. That's one thing carnivore teaches you. I value nourishing my body, and I can't say that enough. And that's what makes me sad when I see some people going through standard doctors who are telling them they need to eat everything in moderation and they need to eat their fiber and eat your big plate of veggies first. I feel sad. You're not actually nourishing yourself. I mean, honestly, people who are on these, if they're high dosing, they should only eat meat because you don't have room for anything else if you're dosing out your appetite.
Right. Right. Yeah. And you're trying to get as much nutrients in a small package as you can. But my question would be then, I don't know what, and this is just kind of a question for everybody because I don't know the answer to this, but what is, how do you guys define undereating versus overeating? When are you obviously you can overeat on pizza and stuff, but I'm saying if you're strict carnivore and you're eating clean beef and, you're not putting a bunch of sauces or seasonings and things on it that might, or eating a bunch of dairy, that can open up your appetite, but you're just eating like beef and eggs and butter. If you're doing that, or ruminant animals, pork, beef, if you're doing that, what does overeating look like? This is a question out there that I think deserves some attention. Is there a point that you will is there a group of people that will consistently overeat on that? And if so, what's that from? I think it's going to be a signaling problem. And if you are in that group that you can overeat on that type of diet, do you think that heals up in 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road?
Do you guys know who Joe and Rachel are? The two crazy ketos?
Yeah.
Joe would say, yeah. He actually told me part of the reason that I came out, if I'm going to be frank, is because I was going on a cruise with the two crazy ketos crew. And I knew I had just seen I had to go to my doctor in Florida. And I purposely scheduled it next to Keto Orlando so I could swing in and see my friends. And so people had seen me at, 185 pounds. And so then all of a sudden to go on a cruise and be 145 pounds, I kind of figured they'd notice. Because what is that, like 25% of your body?
Yeah, right. Well, I didn't hear
whatever it is. It's a significant chunk. And I knew that they might go, wow, those sardines are working for you. And I did not want to lie to anybody. And so that's part of the reason I came out first, is to say, listen, I have more tools in my toolbox, and I don't want to give out the wrong impression that has been perfect for me, because I don't want people to go out there and say, well, it worked for Adrian, so I'm going to just try harder, because it wasn't the full ticket for me. It's the full ticket for mental health. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I used to have horrible anxiety. It's like almost completely gone. It's amazing. Now I have situational anxiety, like we should. The post-bariatric hypoglycemia, nothing else works, not even reversing your surgery. Nothing else works like the carnivore diet for that condition. I was able to keep my food reactions at bay. I was barely leaving bed. The inflammation did go down. It didn't go all the way down. I still struggled with it constantly, but it went down enough I could start driving again. It gave me some of my brain power back a couple of weeks of the month. Like, there's so many things that nourishing your body absolutely does do. And I'll keep watching. Because when did you start, Todd?
Just a little over 2 years ago.
I started January. Oh my gosh, I just realized I missed my carniversary.
Right? Yeah, my carniversary is January 1st, 2023.
January 16th, 2023.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I will be hoping, praying, and watching to see. I hope that your theory is right, that if you just keep at it and keep giving yourself that fat and that fasting, because Dr. Boz says the fasting is so important for the insulin resistance.
Well, and I don't have the same problems you had. That's why this is an N=1 thing, because I didn't have any of the mold stuff. I didn't have any of the, I've never had a problem eating, let's say bacon or something, or I do have a problem with dairy. Like if I have dairy, I just retain more fluid, so I just don't do dairy. But, I've been lucky on that side of things, but I know there's people that have more autoimmune things. I'm not saying I even know the answer to these things, but what what I guess in my mind is, what do you bet on? Do you bet on that? Okay, I'm gonna bet on, I'm gonna stay the course, let my body whatever be and E it wants when it wants it. My weight's gonna fluctuate, go up and down. Healing's gonna happen, and then in 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, maybe 10 years, it works its way out and everything. If I'm wrong, like assuming that when my body's wanting this meat a day, that it's a bad thing. Like say it wants extra meat in a day, 7 pounds of meat when I was going through it. Let's say that we call that overeating and it's having a bad effect. I personally don't think it is, because I was having composition changes and it came off. But even if that was the case, would that heal up in 5, 6, 7 years down the road? And contrast to that, what could be the permanent consequences of taking GLP-1s for 5, 6, 7, 10 years? Are there going to be any permanent gastroparesis or, any kind of digestive problems? Is there going to be a lifelong dependency on it? What unknown side effects, which I always worry about whenever you're taking something that's an exogenous supplement or, an antagonist, because it's mimicking something, and we tend to package it like it's doing the same thing as the original hormone is doing, but it almost always comes out 5 years down the line, they're like, oh, you grew 6 toes or something, like something comes, that some side effect comes out, and there's a class action suit, and it's a nightmare. And so that's what I always wonder about those things.
My thought is that reducing my inflammation the way I have is going to multiply my health. Like if I stay inflamed the way I have been for probably 15, 20 years, that adds up to cancer. That adds up to dysfunctional cells. That adds up to, I actually had my brain scanned, and my parahippocampus is very, very atrophied, to the point that they couldn't even give me like a good score. And that is a sign that I don't exactly know, but that I'm on track for early onset Alzheimer's. So if I just continue down this path and don't find some kind of tool to help me, I mean, I felt it before I got carnivore that I was headed towards a nursing home, like
Right.
within, like quickly, very quickly. I was headed as a young person to a nursing home. So I feel like also having my food being processed a lot better instead of sitting in an insulin resistant state, that's also so good for your cells and in your body. If I can autophagy some of the bad stuff out of the brain, if I can heal up my gut, being left with a better gut biome. Like the reason people are having the paresis is because they already had nerve damage and because they're overdosed. But the very minimal slowing that I'm having and the reduced inflammation's helping the gut biome. So I think that the benefits are going to add up. And when you talk to some of these functional doctors, they're saying they're going to microdose for the rest of their life because of the added health benefits of it. And I can't give you the exact science of exactly how the GLP-1 currently is made, but my understanding is that it is very natural and that it is not synthetic. And the only reason that it's that's my understanding, but I wish I could give you a more scientific answer.
Yeah, let me see. Let me look at something here. One thing that stands out that I didn't really know about your story before is that you were not able to address inflammation with the carnivore diet, is basically what I'm hearing from it. The biggest thing is you stayed inflamed even on carnivore.
Big time.
Right. And so that's why I think that sets you out as an outlier more, to where you had to look at this. And that's why I don't think I can stand in your shoes and make, decide that you shouldn't be doing a GLP-1 or you should, or not that I would anyways, but I'm just saying I was able to get rid of all the inflammation with carnivore. So that to me sounds like it's something. I'm channeling my inner Dr. Phil here, where he always says it's a risk reward calculation, right? For all things, right? And so, yeah, maybe there is a subset of people out there that can't get rid of inflammation that could help on microdosing if you did it right and it was real, and you knew what you were doing, But I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but that's an interesting look. And so I think we should we should have the right people on here to talk about that and find out. I think that'd be a fun thing to explore.
That'd
You
be
know?
awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
go for it.
My thing is seeing so many people out there in the keto carnivore space. And this was, okay, I've always been all in on carnivore because I think you have to believe it to do hard things. So I'm telling you, I was all in. I was preaching. I was telling everybody about it. I still do. I was in the sauna the other day and this guy was like, I have rheumatoid arthritis. And I'm like, are you eating plants? Like I still can't help myself, right? But then there were little nuggets that were like off to me. And it was the continual seeing people losing all their hair. And a lot of big carnivores playing that off like, oh, that just happens. And people continually going, no, I am losing a lot of hair. And then another thing was seeing people who had been carnivore for more than 2 years struggling with weight gain and them struggling and struggling and struggling and them telling this story over and over again that it was so great for their weight at first, but then down the line, it's been a struggle. And so those two pieces were always out there for me that were always just kind of like, I wonder, and so I feel like some people who are struggling, like I'm not going to name names, but there's some guys in this space that have some huge followings and they just went carnivore and their weight just went voomp. That doesn't seem to be a common story in many women, in my opinion. That's just not as common in women. They just seem to struggle with their weight. And there are definitely men too who have been doing these things for a long time and we all sit and blame ourselves. And I just wonder if there's sometimes some people need more. I just wonder if sometimes some people, not everybody, like I know people who like Joe from Two Crazy Ketos, he's doing great. Keto was great for him. And he's not even like a perfectionist. Keto has been the ticket for him. So it's definitely a ticket for some people. I think some people just need another tool. Is it GLP-1? I don't know. It's something. Some people need another tool. Maybe it's Unamate tea. Maybe it's allulose. Although I don't know about allulose. Do you guys like allulose? It rips my gut apart.
I haven't.
I'm not getting the allulose thing. And I don't know. I'm not getting the allulose thing. But if you take allulose and it doesn't give you the runs for 24 hours, make you feel like you're going to die.
Right.
Shot. It's natural.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I credit not doing those things to why I don't have any cravings. Like I don't have any cravings or anything for the sweet palate, so that's why I stayed away from those and it kind of freed me. But yeah, that's why these communities are so helpful. That's why I love being in the SBG gang, because we can see these people in large enough quantities to see what is working for a large number of people. And it doesn't mean that, just like I said, no matter what, there's always one or, a small percentage of people that have a very specific issue, but a lot of, I don't know, most of the problems, even the stubborn ones we seem to see, get cleared up by being a little bit more strict, but also opening up your appetite and eating more. That seems to always be the answer that people find. And it helps some people in 2 weeks, and for some people it takes, a year, or more. Like it can be real stubborn, but we do see the healing occur. And it's pretty incredible, but for sure there's some people that have such bad damage, and just kind of maybe took things really hard that it's really hard for them to heal up. And I don't know. That's why we got to get some carnivore studies done to really, get this stuff figured out and to put some conclusive evidence together, because it's so tricky.
I do have people telling me it's dangerous that I'm telling people to eat carnivore and take a GLP-1. It's downright dangerous. They need fiber. They need nutrition. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, oh, this is going to cause them to have hypoglycemia. No, that's not the mechanism action. Nobody should have hypoglycemia on this because it actually normalizes your levels to communicate better. The only people who do get hypoglycemia are people on insulin, potentially, not even fully, but potentially people on insulin or metformin. Do you guys do any of the other biohacking things? Because there's so many tools out there that are other than just peptides. There's tons of biohacking out there.
Just doing the sprinting, doing the Wim Hof breathing, doing the, I'm just now getting into the sauna therapy stuff. Just basically anything that increases stem cells and growth hormones, any of those type of things. And I am working on next thing that I'm going to get before I get skin surgery is a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. Is the next thing that I'm working on. But just those things. But I mean, those are very well known. None of those are really on the fringe of anything.
I have a question for you guys. Here's what I hear from people outside of SBG is they say, I tried SBG, but it didn't work for me. They felt that it wasn't good for their metabolism and it triggered their eating disorder. They didn't like the all or nothing. And so I just question if sometimes, that is a great tool for a ton of people. It's a huge community. And some people are like, that did not work for me. Did they do something wrong?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. Here's what I will say is that there's a lot of people before it works for them, it doesn't work for them. And they keep coming with questions, but they stick at it. And a lot of what doesn't work is there's people that are holding on real tight to even a pound, or, if they gain a pound, they can't help themselves from being stressed out about it. And it's a tough thing because in order to do it, not only do you have to be okay and kind of divorce yourself from the scale because you need to be relaxed, you're still going to slow down your progress, and you're going to have a lot of trouble if you're obsessing over it and if you're a constant kind of ball of nerves. And like I get it, it's hard, especially just like you said, when it's really hard for you to lose weight and you've managed to get some amount of weight off of you, and then you see it coming back on so easy, you get really stressed out. You get really worried about it. But when we get people that have spent a lifetime doing that, and then they come in there and we work with them long enough that they keep giving it a try, and we honestly, one thing that helps them the most is the non-scale victory meetings and all the community around them that says, I know we were there, we did that, but seriously, do it until it works, give it some time. And then they finally have the breakthrough, and their appetite finally opens up, and they finally feel their metabolism raise like mine. Like, I did not know that my metabolism was like completely almost non-functioning until I felt what it was like to have it actually raised. And when that happened, it blew my mind. I didn't even know that was a possibility. I'm like, oh, I just haven't felt normal ever. Like, ever in my life have I had a functioning metabolism till right now, and that information, feeling what that feels like, and feeling that through eating and nourishing the body and the food, that is the biggest blessing that I've had in my whole carnivore journey, is that I know how to get there now, and I know what it feels like, and I have a baseline of what I should feel like, what normal feels like, because I didn't know what normal felt like before. So I had nothing to go off of. Now I do. And so I know what healthy actually feels like, and I know when I'm lowering my metabolism. So I can't say I wouldn't be crazy enough to say that everybody did it wrong. I'm sure that for some reason that there's some people out there that have issues that it doesn't work for, bigger problems, permanent problems, things that we don't know. There's a lot of people in this world with a lot of problems. But I do think that there's a fairly large group of those people that are so conscious about holding on tight to the calorie restrictive kind of mindset that they had, that they don't actually kind of open up and allow themselves to eat what they should be eating because they're too frenzied about the scale and the weight. Like, you really do have to divorce that, just throw it away. And the people that we see do that, where they just go, I'm not going to look at the scale for 100 days. I'm just going to listen to my body and eat, and I'm going to stay away from these things, and I'm going to eat as much of these foods as I need to on a schedule to make sure that I get nourished. Those are the people we see have the best results. But over half of them have to gain weight before they can lose it, which I know sounds crazy, but we see it all the time, and it works.
And you can't just join SBG and think, oh, I'm going to lose 20 pounds just by being a member. You need to be part of the community, chime in on the chat box and attend the meetings and actually be active in there. You're there to heal, and you're there to learn from others. And you'll find if you just talk to a few people, anything that you're experiencing, other people have been there. And there's so many tips and tricks and hacks and how people navigate and fix their symptoms or meet aversion or whatever you're struggling with. There's bound to be, 50 people in there that have all been through that. So it just makes you feel like I'm not alone in this. I'm not weird. I'm not a freak. There's other people here that have experienced what I'm experiencing, and you learn from it. But you need to be active in the community, immerse yourself, talk to people, and just like you don't have support in the real world. And that's why I attribute my success to being in a community. And 3 years I've been in SBG. I'm still there today. And now I'm in there telling my story and trying to motivate and inspire people and help people through, because that's how passionate I am about it. And I still struggle every day. It's hard work. I still occasionally get those little cravings come back in. Life sucks sometimes. The stress really gets you down, and I have to throw myself into the community, because as soon as I leave it, things go to pear-shaped. I need to have my family behind me, my carnivore family. That's been a very powerful part of my journey.
The minute I start watching reality TV instead of watching podcasts or joining my Zoom meetings, because I've always been in some kind of group, that's when you start questioning and forgetting. And what do they say? You need to immerse yourself 3 times a day into people who are into a community or people or information that's going to keep you on track.
For sure.
I've always been a community person. And so it was weird to kind of do this alone. I did document the whole thing, but I got to tell you guys, I don't know if I'll ever release the videos because I'm mad in every single video. I'm mad because these are being demonized. I'm mad because standard medicine is hurting people by doing it inappropriately based on studies using the standard American diet. I'm mad at, obviously the people who have been harmed. I am mad that these are being demonized when they could heal people. And I'm mad because my whole life I was told that I just didn't try hard enough. And after you try this, even low doses, you see that there's more going on. And so everyone, I'm super mad. And then I'm mad because I kind of thought that if I came out about it, everybody would hate me. And that made me mad. But guess what, you guys? There's been some hate, but probably it's mostly behind my back, because most people who talk to me are like, you do you, boo. Right? And people are like, we know you. We know that you had a horrible surgery, so you're not going to just not do your research and jump into something that's going to put you in the same position, And so I'm definitely looking to make whatever I can as long lasting as possible. And that includes, nourishing my body with meat and all the things.
Yeah. We have hate too, just by being a little bit different. Being carnivore.
How could you have hate? When I watch your intro, I just cry. It's so beautiful.
No, but we still get our hate, and that's okay. We're on our journey. We're fighting for our lives here. We've saved our lives, got a second chance at life, but people don't see that. They just say, oh, you're going to die. And even now, if I mention carnivore to anyone, they're like, well, I don't have 500 pounds to lose. It's all crap. You're going to die of a heart attack.
Members do it all the time to build muscle.
Yeah, it's silly.
For sure. 100%. Yeah, this is Carnivore Transformer. He's kind of one of the people I was thinking about too, where he talked me into waiting 100 days to do my weigh-in. After 100 days, I lost 77.6 pounds, 32 inches in total in 100 days. Congratulations, Carnivore Transformer. That's awesome.
Beautiful.
But the community is so important. And I don't know why there's, I'm very, 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 very skeptical about GLP-1s, but also if they are, I just would need to know so much more about them. But I love the idea because this is a bridge we all have to cross. And so I don't care what side we land on, but we have to know it in good faith. Like we have to know that this isn't just, there's so many things against it to me that just raise all the flags, right? Like it's $1 billion market. Like why things that are natural, like if it really is just a protein peptide, why do we have to spend $300 to $1,600 a month to get it, right?
Somehow they weaseled their way into okay, let's talk. They knew, because this has been around for 20 years. They've been giving this to diabetics for 20 years. I think they've been giving it to people for like 10 years. This has been around for a while. And I think they knew if we don't get in on this, we're done. Because I believe peptides can replace just about every single medication there is out there. Now, there's only 2 companies who even have patents. The rest of the companies, they are crapping their pants right now, because if you're not a diabetic, because this reduces diabetes by like 80% if you're pre-diabetic or something. It's amazing. If you're no longer dealing with obesity, that reduces your chances of all kinds of diseases and surgeries and heart issues and all the things, They knew if we don't get in on this, we're done. Insurance companies set the prices because they own the pharmacy benefit managers. So they're setting these ridiculous prices because as a pharmacy benefit manager, they get to collect, and they collect 70% of that price. Then as an insurance company, they collect another slice of it. And then they say, oh, yay for insurance. Then they say, gosh, this is so expensive. We're going to have to raise
our
your
notice
premiums.
that we're being demonetized.
Then they say, we're sorry. Should I stop this talk?
No, seriously, go for it. I don't care.
Then they're saying, well, we have to raise your premiums because we have to pay for this expensive medicine that they set the price for. And then why are they not lowering the price? Because they know, like it already started in New York, that government is eventually, because of all the healing benefits, going to mandate that insurance pays for it. Now, insurance, who sets the price, has technically no leg to stand on because they're forced to pay the price, because they're forced to cover it. So insurance and government are screwing this up. Just put it out there. So they're never going to lower their price. They're never going to do it. They're going to hold us hostage, and they're going to put it behind a payer. So we don't necessarily see it up front. Like if you said, Todd, give me $1,600 a month right now, you would say, yeah, not going to happen. But if you can hide it behind a payer who cuts your coverage everywhere else and increases your premium, they hide it. But you only pay $40 when you go to the pharmacy,
Sure.
Or in the government, they're going to cut coverage for other things, and they're going to increase taxes, and the whole thing's a scam. I want to tell you that across the world, there are challenges to this patent, and they are losing. And I just wonder, when is it going to come to America that they're going to challenge the patent and lose?
Right. Well, we shall see.
Because they're holding us hostage.
Well, they are. And that, whenever there's that much money, whenever just a protein peptide should cost $1,600 a month, immediately I go, there's too much money in there for there not to be some corruption in there somewhere. And with that kind of corruption and that kind of lure to corruption, what isn't being said about it? That's what I worry about. What isn't being said? What is being hidden? If you follow any of Brett Weinstein's stuff, when he talked about how, these drug companies even found out that they were breeding a certain species of lab rat to test these drugs on that were getting elongated telomeres so that they were more resistant to the side effects from drugs, so that these drugs would get passed without showing the real dangers of the side effects. There's no telling how much stuff we're not going to know until we just see the outfall. And I wonder to this day, these things that me and you and we all wonder about, like, why is everybody getting so unhealthy? Why has everybody got insulin resistance? Why is everybody so inflamed? How much of that has to do with the side effects of the last miracle cure that we all swallowed? How much of that had to do with all the decisions that we all just assumed were okay? And I'm not even saying I know the answer to that or how to stop it, but I'm just saying, what is the fallout going to be of the next miracle pill? And so I have this natural disdain for anything that's not natural, to stay away from it, because we've been lied to. And it would be great, be great if we could trust these institutions and trust that the science actually was science, and that it wasn't just ridiculous epidemiology studies that they used to, to indoctrinate all of us and pretend like that this was good for the masses, as everybody gets more and more sick and more in prisons to our sick bodies and obesity, and we lose quality of life. And so I don't know. I want to be very sure before we carry any water. I always say I don't negotiate with terrorists. I don't want to give these people my money to or promote something that they're holding us hostage. I mean, we're literally buying into it. And so you got to wonder, why is it that all of a sudden we need these people's drug to not be sick when our ancestors did not? So, yeah, go ahead.
Here's a couple things that like Adrian's tinfoil hat. When you start banning a topic, I go, what's going on over there? Why are you banning this topic? Why are you shutting down Facebook groups? Why don't you want people to know about these? Mm-hmm. And then when you search on YouTube, it'll come up with stupid 3-minute news articles about somebody's side effects. Like they're clearly, and you got to think too, all the bigs that will be harmed by this, big food, because actually, stop it. You know how people, you said they would just go eat drive-through every day. It actually, in a lot of people, when they eat non-whole foods, they feel like crap. It actually makes them want to eat whole food because the processed food makes them feel like crud when they start taking this. I think part of the reason the price is so high is because they don't actually want people to take these. They don't actually want anybody to heal. This is horrible for insurance. That's why they're not covering it. They get a percentage of every single transaction. So the sicker we are, the more transactions they get to collect on. If they heal a bunch of people, no more transactions. And then the FDA keeps banning a whole bunch of these because they don't want people to have them. To me, there's actually so many signs of they don't want people to have this. Now, the newest one, retatrutide, which is supposed to be even more amazing in muscle building and metabolism healing, they're trying to get it as a biologic so it can never be compounded. And you would have to go through insurance. It's the only choice. And it could be $14,000 to get your hands on this peptide. So they are trying to lock this behind lock and key and have 100% control over who gets to heal and who doesn't. So that right there, Adrian's tinfoil hat is like, what do you get? To me, that is my indicator of like, because they do the same thing with carnivore. They demonize meat, so, and they absolutely demonize these. And are they intentionally doing these wrong to make them look bad?
Right.
That's my wonder. If you take mini doses, I think it's very healing and healthy. A mini dose is different for every person. So like a mini dose might be like a drop for someone. But for another person, it might be more. But that's my thought. I love that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, and then, I mean, how much concern do you have that for you personally that there's going to be any side effects or lasting side effects?
I see that the peptide itself is very healing. I see a side effect to people who are overdosed and their gut is locked up. Now, the gut locking in like 99% of people is temporary, like very, very temporary. So I don't see long-term damage to the gut mobility. That's actually one of the misinformations that's out there. They talk too about, they're saying that men are getting erectile dysfunction, and the percentage difference between the people on the peptide and not was very, very minimal. I don't know if it was even clinically significant, but I'd also like to question, were they nourishing themselves or were they starving themselves? Because starvation can cause erectile dysfunction. Starvation can cause eye issues. A lot of the issues were people already had them. And I've seen the gallbladder thing. There's actually a person in here, and I'm not trying to pass judgment on your condition because I'm so sorry that happened to you. But just like when you go carnivore, it can kick your gallbladder and you can have gallbladder issues after going carnivore, but that issue was already there. It wasn't caused by the peptide. It wasn't caused by carnivore. It wasn't caused by keto. It was already brewing. So a lot of these conditions they're blaming were already brewing in people, and the peptide itself is very healing. That's my thought.
Perfect.
I'm a little in the bag, I guess, because I feel really good. But I do absolutely 100,000% see the people being overdosed. That's not a lie. That is a real thing. Like, we can't even say that it's just the propaganda because we can see it with our own eyes.
Right. Well, I think we're going to have to dig more into it, and then I'd love to have some experts on and kind of hash it out and see what we can figure out on it. So that'll be fun. We're going to try to work on that in the future. It'll give us a good arena. But I love the conversations.
You know, Bickman is one to have on the opposite side. He hates these.
Right.
Bickman hates them. He thinks that people only lose weight because they're so nauseous. And that's not true.
Oh, well,
he also says that people only go off them because they're so tired of being nauseous. And I do think that's true for people going standard medicine who are overdosed. But I also think it's mostly a money thing. These are freaking expensive and it's ridiculous. It costs $5 to make this medication.
Yeah, that figures. Well, I'm definitely, I'm going to stay probably untrusting of the medical company, but I definitely am going to look for some experts, because I'd love to see that clash happen and get to the bottom of it for sure. Because it's something we're going to have to address because it's too prevalent out there right now. We need to know the real answer to it. So
you might have to do it on Rumble though.
Yeah, we're going to get demonetized for sure. I said I already got a hard strike for talking crap about the GLP-1s the other day. It was pretty funny. They banned me for like a month. It's pretty funny.
They did?
They did. Yeah, little old me.
Not like people talking about this.
No, they do not.
Good or bad. It's a banned topic. They actually, I think it was last summer, it became a banned topic on TikTok even. And people's accounts just got deleted.
That's
GLP-1 accounts. And it's like, wow, this is more banned than carnivore. I mean, carnivore, at least they're trying to like silently, like, what is that called? Shadow ban.
Yeah,
right?
shadow ban. Yeah.
At least they're shadow banning a lot of carnivores, but GLP-1, they're straight up deleting you if you talk about this.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised we're still on the air. The last time I was in mid-sentence when when my channel got banned. I was in mid-sentence. It was live.
Well, I appreciate you guys asking questions. I appreciate your suspicion. I think it's really important for us to be as safe as possible, especially after our horrible surges, Lindy. I hope we can find, the right tools for people.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think it's silly. I'm a definite advocate for carnivore, definite advocate for healing, and I am definitely against against drugs and as a whole and drug companies, and very suspicious, and I am not a fan of GLP-1s. However, the reality of it is we have to have people on and have these conversations, and we have to see it in real time, because GLP-1s are not just going to go away. And if they are going to hurt people, then we need to know about it. And if they are a help to people, then we need to know about it and make them affordable, So no matter what, this conversation has to come out in the light. And what I love about carnivore is that it's not a cult and it's not a dogmatic community. It is a, community built on healing and truth, and not having, not being biased, right? Like, we're not selling anything. We're
question everything.
Yeah, question everything. Yeah. Let's have the conversation, and if it's real, then it'll hold up. That's why, you guys in our audience know that this is not our side of the topic, but it doesn't matter. We still have to have these conversations, and we don't know how the struggles that everybody's going through. That's why I've never been the guy that says, "Oh, what's the guy that started eating fruit and everybody freaked out?"
Paul Saladino.
Yeah, Paul Saladino. I'm like, let Paul eat fruit. Who cares?
Yeah, look at him. He can eat fruit.
Right. He can eat fruit. Like, this is.
But don't expect me to do it.
No, I'm not Paul Saladino. If I eat fruit's going to turn into a cheesecake next week because I can't regulate it, But Paul can. So good on Paul. You know what I mean?
I thought you were going to say a seedy poop.
That might have been it too. But that'd be a good hashtag for next week's giveaway. CD poop. But we're gonna go ahead and do our giveaway here.
Ooh, exciting!
All right, so this is your last chance. Like, subscribe, and type in tasty, hashtag tasty, all caps letters, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Dun,
I just saw a Lindy in there.
I did. Bam.
Me though.
It was so close to Lewis. Lewis is my friend.
Oh,
You are too, Peachy.
So close. Hey, Peachy,
Yay.
congratulations. You are the awesome winner of a brand new tasty air fryer. Lindy, how can they contact you to get that air fryer?
Yeah, just send an email to sbgchallenge@gmail.com. I'll just pop it in the chat here. And you take a screenshot of this that shows that it's your account and send it to me there.
So
And,
what she means by that is you need to take a screenshot, whatever device you're watching from, go into your YouTube account. You don't have to have a channel, but just your account so that we can have this picture that is shown right here. Otherwise, believe it or not, people try to email and steal your air fryer, but if only you can take a screenshot from within your device from your YouTube account. So send that in as proof of winning and we'll match it up here and you got yourself an air fryer.
Yeah, I'll give you the details then.
Thank you so much, Peachy.
Congratulations.
And if you guys didn't win, that's okay because we are giving away. You can come to SBG. In SBG, we're giving out one tomorrow on the priming call. One on are we doing priming?
No. Sugar and carb addiction meeting. We give out one there. Yeah.
So what days are those? Let's let them know.
That one's on Thursday, I think.
So we have a Thursday, a Friday.
The live stream we give out 2 with the SBG Friday Night Live. We give out 2 then. But we've got 30 to give away. So
so come over to watch our live streams on Friday and Sunday, and then come hang out in SBG because we're giving away 30 of them by the end of the month. And come get your that's pretty crazy because of the field of people. That's like you have like a 1 in 20 chance of getting $150 air fryer. So that's pretty good. So
can I answer Terry's question?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
She asked, do you think taking some allulose daily can mimic a microdose of GLP-1? My concern is that so many people's guts are off that we can't really depend on anything going orally. I don't think we can depend on like literally anything going orally because our guts need so much healing. But let's say you have a healthy gut. Let's say you're not having food reactions. You can eat dairy. Your gut's great. Okay. And you're one of the people who maybe just doesn't produce enough GLP-1 and you're a little bit insulin resistant, then I think it's possible. But if you are potentially GLP-1 resistant, your food noise is crazy. I don't think it's enough.
All right.
That's my opinion, not doctor's advice.
Perfect.
Like, I wonder if my husband could have gotten away with eating some allulose.
Right.
I wonder. But I also worry, though, because it causes a lot of indigestion in a lot of people. Have you ever made an allulose recipe?
Lewis
I know. Okay. I love Lewis. He's actually, can I tell you about him? He actually is a type 2 diabetic, and he went on a GLP-1. He immediately wanted to make sure this was like a great thing for him. So he went on the proper human diet. He's a Ken Berry guy. So he coupled the GLP-1 with the proper human diet the whole time. He lost 100 pounds. I don't remember how long it took, but it was less than a year. Okay. But he went through standard medicine. So even though he's doing all the right things and he's having great success, they topped him off like really quickly. The effects kind of faded. And he also didn't want to necessarily be on it for his whole life. So he actually came off of it and he is now combining carnivore with fasting. Tons and tons of carnivore with fasting. And so he's cycling and he's hoping if he does end up adding it back to add a lower dose to continue his healing because he's had some healing, but he thinks that maybe he needs some more. Why I love him, besides that he's amazing and he's very supportive and awesome, is that he actually found me in one of the GLP-1 influencer chats. And then one day he saw me on a carnivore thing and he put 2 together. And so me and him are kind of like straddling both communities. And I don't know, well, there's becoming more of us now that I've come out about this, but it's weird. We're like the black sheep.
Well, and that's the good news, right? This is what I like about the way things seem to be shifting with social media, and especially if we can keep YouTube and everybody from banning taboo topics or being controlled by, big food and big pharma. But what ends up seeming to happen is no matter what, the truth rises to the top and the things that are real. So if this is real, carnivore and these things and GLP-1s will be a match made in heaven and they'll rise to the top. If it's not real, we're going to see the side effects and we're going to know. And that's what we're all witnessing right now on a big stage. It started with, I don't know, keto and then carnivore, and now everybody's becoming more aware. But the beauty of all this that is happening is we're all are seeing that there's a huge problem and people are waking up and people are knowing we can't trust big food. That's not food that's in the grocery store. We are being attacked. We are being addicted on purpose. We are being turned into products that they want to make us sick so that they can sell us management. All these things are finally coming out. And so now this is just the next bridge to cross, and we just need to see if this is real or not. So I really look forward to this, and I'm glad that you're documenting it, because that's going to be important for the overall cause of it,
So this is going to be interesting. I had a very good point someone brought up that I really love, and they're not for these. They think the only people who should be taking them are diabetics. They're medicinal for diabetics. They don't think anybody should take them. People in those people's community, they feel shame when they try it. And so I had a talk with them and I'm like, I think this could be so healing for some people. And they said, Adrian, you've only been taking this for 3-4 months. Like, how can you say with such certainty that this is such a ticket? And they're like, we'd like to watch. And I think that's fair. 3 months into carnivore, I was the exact same way.
Right. For sure.
So I want you to keep doing you, whatever's best for you, and I'll keep doing me, and we'll see what happens. Maybe I'm wrong. I will admit I've been wrong on a lot of things. Gastric bypass, Biggest Loser. I have a history of being wrong.
No worries. Well, it doesn't matter, because what did they say? There's no mistakes, only information.
Learning. I absolutely will learn along the way.
For sure. So, well, good deal. Well, we appreciate you having me on and appreciate you being on. It's always great talking with you. And where can people find you?
Adrian K. Gledhill on Instagram and YouTube and kind of TikTok, but I'm really horrible at that one. And then if you're interested, we have a group called Eat Meat, Lift Heavy GLP group on Facebook for people who are considering adding this tool to their toolbox. So if you are considering that, please don't do it alone. You can make posts anonymously. We don't talk about who's in there. Some people are just curious. Some people are trying it. But if you are curious, don't do it. And community makes you more successful. Come check out what people are doing. Eat Meat, Lift Heavy GLP group.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
Thank you guys for having me. I love you guys. Please have me back anytime. And I can't wait to see you at Hack Your Health. Are you guys going to be on the stage this year?
Todd will. I'm a maybe. I'll have to see how I go.
Come on. I thought you said you were coming for sure.
Depends. Yeah. We'll see.
She's coming.
Still
She's coming, and she's going to be, that'll be after your skin surgery, so you'll be rocking it.
Somebody did ask, how is your fundraiser going? Do we need to share it some more?
Oh, good point. Yes, Lindy's fundraiser. Top that up. Let me go get the link and I'll pop it in here. I'm so bad at all the details. All right, hold on.
As you know, I like to avoid the topic because I don't like to be center stage. So I kind of just happy to forget.
I'm so excited for you, and I'm so grateful for you for paving the way. I'm hoping for the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm really interested to see, I mean, like 99% of them go so well.
Yeah.
Because I was the gastric bypass that didn't go so well. So I just, I'm scared of any surgery.
Yeah, it's always a fear, isn't it? But no, I've really done the research, as you have with the GLP-1 with my doctor, and he's a lymphatic specialist, so I have total faith in him. So yeah, no, I'm confident it should be all good. So
for sure, and we'll just pop this up here. Lindy, plug your ears. She hates this part, but this is Lindy's progress pictures, but this is on her GoFundMe page, and I just put it in the link, and it's also in the video description. But yeah, we are on the home stretch here of Lindy's GoFundMe. We set it up because, this fine medical system that we have, they'll pay for your drugs to stay sick, but as soon as you start getting healthy, they won't pay to remove the skin. And so Lindy's got over 50 pounds of skin after losing 500 plus pounds over the last 3 years. And so she needs to get that off there because it is absolutely a health issue for her. And unfortunately, insurance doesn't cover it. So we are all, as a community, helping her out. When you guys have been fantastic. We are about 78% to our goal. We have a few days left, and we're hoping to get there. And I think we're really, really close. So I think we're going to pull it out. So, but anything you guys can do to help or share the GoFundMe would be fantastic. I'd appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
And then we'll see Lindy. Shoot, when do you think you'll heal up? So the surgery is on February 6th, right?
Yeah, they say 3 months, but yeah, I'm tough. I'm sort of half Italian. My grandmother, she was like a bull. She would just heal very well. So I think I'll be on my feet pretty quickly. So
Will you still be on your lives and stuff, or you think you'll be laid back?
We'll see. We'll see how we go. I'll probably have the first week off, and I'll see how I go after that. I'm just going to play it by ear. Yeah, see how I feel. It's a big surgery, so there's 20 pounds or 22 pounds of skin just on my stomach, which is, yeah, it's a lot there. So I just don't know how I'll feel afterwards.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, can't wait. So it's going to be exciting to see. But thanks for everybody for watching. Thank Adrian for coming by, and we will see you guys next time.
Awesome.
Good night.